The Furious by Chong Feng, 2. Heartbroken and frustrated, Yunfeng's bodily functions quickly spiraled downwards. Showing a face of utter pain, he spews out a mouthful of blood at the misfortunate news. This is all my fault. If I wasn't fooled by these people and returned home, then I wouldn't have lost Ninger for over 20 years. I can't continue like this. I won't allow it. Regardless of where you are, my love, I will come find you and be together again. Outside the door, Chief Wu Wei and the others could all hear the painful cries of the patient. Many were ecstatic at the successful recovery, but more were showing astonishment over by Yan's ability to create an 8th-grade Dan pill. Therefore, just about everyone were running over to the bedroom, leaving only by Chong Feng in the background like a crowd pleaser. There's no way someone like the old grandpa wouldn't want to go investigate who could be so capable, but he's an outsider, and this was a family matter. If he hastened himself and barged in there without invitation, then it's surely inappropriate. Elder Mujin, Zhongnan, older, sneered in contempt at the old hag. Clicking his tongue sarcastically, he wants to emphasize his point. What more do you have to say to this? Umph. Mujin promptly snarled in retaliation. So what if that girl could refine an 8th-grade Dan pill? Nothing but a slut born of a whore. As an elder of the Misty Fairy House, I would be the first to object to the idea of her returning to her ancestry. You know my student's mother? Zhongnan's face sank at the implication of those words, his aura growing increasingly cold and dangerous. All right, none of you know this, so I'll enlighten you bunch of knuckleheads of the truth. That slut looks very similar to the whore who tried to seduce the young lord years ago. I'm assuming she secretly gave birth to his child after tricking her way into his bed. The Zhong brothers were stiff as a rock at that last bit. Their eyes had a look of disbelief like it's the most incredible news they've ever heard, but more of it was joy and elation. If what this witch says is true, then the girl is the young lord's daughter. That means our Misty Fairy House has an heir. Don't get too happy just yet. The whore from back then is a person who idolized the rich. Because of the young lord not revealing his true identity, that person ended up running away with another wealthy individual. Heck, we can't even be certain this little slut is related or just some brat trying to sneak her way into our ranks. Scoffing a derisive chuckle, Mujin proudly states her opinion for all to hear. You shut up, Zhongnan snaps and roars out. Don't think the chief and madam would let you off for this. They're just busy and don't have the time to deal with you. Wait until they're done, then you'll get what you deserve. Casting a sideway glare at the old senior, Mujin didn't care what this fella had to say to herself. Instead, she began to stroll towards the bedroom like she owned the place. Zhongnan was absolutely livid by this point and wanted to attack right then and there. Thankfully, the younger brother Zhongbei decides to step in and grabbed at that arm, shaking his head. Don't. Yin Feng has only just recovered from his illness, so we mustn't let our arguments disturb his rest. What's more, we still need Mujin to get a better picture of what happened to Yenner's mother. After we finish probing her for the details, then nothing will stop us from exacting our revenge. As frustrated and unwilling as Zhongnan was, he knew that's the optimal solution for now. Pressing down that anger, he too had begun to head for the bedroom. This Misty Fairy House sure is noisy. Making a mild shake of his head, Chong Feng didn't care for all this drama and took it as nothing more than a little play for himself. After all, it's unrelated to himself and his opinion. If only this old grandpa knew whom Mujin was referring to, then perhaps his attitude wouldn't be so calm. Young lord. As soon as the old witch rushed into the room, the first thing she saw was the decadent-looking Yun Feng leaning against the bedrest. Due to the emotions running up to those eyes, this old hag couldn't resist wiping a trickle of tear coming out of the corner. The Furious by Chong Feng, 3. Yin Feng's first reaction upon making contact with the old hag was a cold, hard glare. Get out. Mujin was completely taken aback by the shout. Unlike right now, the man from many years ago had always showed respect for herself, so this form of the young lord didn't fit her image of him. For more than 20 years my mind may have been lost in a haze of confusion, but that doesn't mean I don't know anything. The old witch's appearance was undoubtedly a stimulant to the already unstable Yun Feng. Therefore, despite his weakened state, the man manages to muster enough strength to shoot over a sword like glare to Mugen. There's an unabashed disgust in his eyes. That's how much he disliked the woman. How many times have you slipped into my room while my parents aren't paying attention? And how many times have you tried to do illicit things to me? My mind may not be at its clearest over the years, but that doesn't mean I would forget there's a woman waiting for me out there. Mugen, I respected you as an elder, but your behavior really makes me sick. The room had turned deathly quiet following each statement coming out of the patient's mouth. And since his voice was loud and clear, even by Chong Feng, who remained outside, could hear the whole story. Wow, this Misty Fairy house is such a mess. I'm so glad it's not my home. Otherwise, I would be disgraced to the point where I have to hide my own face. Once I meet that 8th grade alchemist, I should go back before I get any more involved. Sighing at the world's depressing lack of moral integrity, Bai Chong Feng really didn't want to stay at this filthy place. Inside the room, aside from Jun Tianyu, wife, who had long become aware of the ulterior motives of this old witch, the other 3 respected elders who also came inside were left flabbergasted. Their mouths kept working like they wanted to say something, but it's too much for their brains to process. Aside from the murmuring mumbles, no words could be pronounced. Chief Wu Wei, on the other hand, didn't go down that route. Flaring into an explosive rage, he nearly completely loses it in his demeanor. Mugen, despite jolting her body at the ear-defeating roar, the shameless old hag actually had the nerve to retort with a ridiculing cackle of her own. No matter how bad I am, I can't be any more worse than an ordinary girl. A woman without power or influence has no right to be at the young lord's side. Besides, pausing in her voice to organize her defense, Yin Feng is the one chosen by the goddess. Now that he's recovered, it's time he married the great being. A mere wench who only knows greed is not worthy of him. Though exposed to her filthy ways, the old woman did have a point in the eyes of the other people around. Aside from his own brothers and the 2 parents present, none were willing to speak out in protest to that claim. Elder Mugen is right. We can't afford to offend the goddess. That's right. The goddess is not only a person from the celestial realm, she's also the woman pursued by the demon lord and celestial lord. The fact that the young lord could be chosen by someone so great is his fortune. We can't miss this opportunity. If our Misty Fairy house can appease the goddess, then it's equivalent of forging a bridge between us and those in the upper realm. We must. Under normal circumstances, the patient himself would have went mad by now after hearing all those stimulating words. But now, his expression was extraordinarily calm to the point where it's frightening. Years ago, I lost my wife and daughter because of you people. Now I'm back. I will never be any of your puppets. If any of you bastards dare to get in my way, then I would rather die before I allow any of you to get with your ways. Daughter? The threat was definitely damning for those who heard it, but it's the word daughter that fully captured everyone's attention. They're filled with shock in the eyes. The young lord has a daughter? Turning to Bai Yan's presence, Yin Feng's gaze turned from a cold, hard glare to a soft, gentle look of a father facing their children. Child, you've suffered during this time. Don't worry. I won't let anyone bring harm towards you again. The furious Bai Chong Feng for Jun Tianyu had her speculations, but now for it to be confirmed was enough to send her over the edge of tears. Did you hear that, Wu Wei? She's our granddaughter. Our granddaughter. Yin Feng. She's your daughter and our granddaughter. Heaving a long sigh at how cruel fate could be at times, Chief Wu Wei holds onto his wife's hand and pats her in a comforting manner. Yes, dear. I heard you. We now have a granddaughter. We finally have a grandchild. Feeling words alone weren't enough to express her emotions. The madam pushed away her own husband and tightly grabbed onto Bai Yan's hand this time. Child, no wonder I felt so close to you as soon as I saw you. This is what they call the connection of blood. Truly a miracle. Bai Yan didn't have the heart to withdraw her hands despite the awkward discomfort. Madam, even if you want her to be your granddaughter, you must first make sure she's correctly your kin. Mugen stepped forward and cocked the most annoying and irritable smirk ever. Elders, I want to point out something crucial for everyone to hear. That woman from back then is a whore who would sleep with any man who gives her money. We have no way to know for certain this girl here is even related. None of the elders responded or answered her claim. Regardless of it being true, Bai Yin was Yun Feng's biological daughter. The mere fact that she's able to reach the monarch rank and refine an 8th grade Dan pill prove she's extraordinarily talented. This fact alone meant they must think twice before taking sides. The patient himself had long taken a heavy disgust against these people in the Misty Fairy house, so it's already a great act of forgiveness that he didn't erupt as soon as he regained his sanity. Therefore, it's no surprise that Bai Yin would become his sore spot, and any form of negativity would ignite the fireworks. Mujin, you're looking for death. Yin Feng, exclaiming in great shock, Jun Tian, you mother, hurried to stop her son from exerting that body. You are still sick and needs rest. Let mother handle this. I will solve everything. She's regretting it now, regretting the fact that she didn't finish off the wretched old hag earlier. Because of that mistake, his son might even have a relapse back to the old state as a result of the blasted woman's prancing and nasty remarks. Bang! But the madam already had her chance earlier in the main reception hall. Taking the lead, Bai Yin directly stomps her foot into Mujin's chest and caused the old woman to stumble backwards in order to retreat. Though the girl's strength only hovered around the mid-level of the monarch rank, a tier below herself, Mujin still found it humiliating to be attacked by a brat not even half her age. Little girl, you are no more than a whore's daughter. Don't think I don't know what you are trying to conceive with your plot. Once the goddess arrives and see what you're doing, you can forget about escaping death. Bai Yin could no longer hold back her laughter anymore, chuckling like she's faced with a humorous joke. Goddess? If she dares to show herself in front of me, then I can make sure she will never leave again. Also, scanning her surroundings, the girl deliberately activated her powers to allow that voice to reach every nook and cranny of the chief's estate. He is leaving with me today. Whoever dares to block my path, I will slice them down with my blade and crush the Misty Fairy house. Bai Yin's never been in the habit of relying on other people's strength to do her biddings. But for the sake of her father, she's now seriously contemplating the choice of utilizing the other two major powers to crush this filthy place. And so, her threat was filled to the brim with confidence, leaving many seriously at awe over her words. Back over in the courtyard that's not too far away, Bai Changfeng was in the middle of waiting for the host to finish up their business when he suddenly picked up this familiar voice. In an instant, his expression changed from surprise to pure rage, like he's about to strangle the closest servant nearby. Even the grounds were crackling under his mighty pressure. Not even a few seconds later, Mujin was about to swing up another long sequence of tirades again when the door to the room suddenly got blown apart, causing the nearest occupant inside, aka Mujin herself, to go flying forward and crashing face first to the floor. And since the blow was oozing with power, she had the unfortunate case of taking the aftershock of the blast into her chest. Who dares? Shooting her irate face up to confront the one who attacked herself from the back, the impudent old wench was just about to lash out before she realizes who it was. From what should have been a loud banshee screeching for bloody murder, had devolved into a squeamish hamster who wanted nothing but to hide herself into the tiniest corner of the room. The furious Bai Changfeng 5. If it was the chief, then she could still survive out of consideration she saved the young lord's life back then. But if she provoked this old man, then the fate awaiting her would be certain death, or worse. Like Mujin, Bai Yin was also too startled for words. For one, the girl had planned to escape before her grandfather arrives, after catching wind of his visit. But now, she's caught red-handed and instantly lost a lot of her momentum compared to a few seconds ago. Why are you here? Still fuming with smoke coming out his head, Bai Changfeng was more pained than anything else really. So this brat is the alchemist mentioned by Chief Wu Wei? Is she trying to make me die from heart attack? How could she do something so rash like attempting something so dangerous? That's a recipe which would cause an alchemic trial. A simple error means the destruction of her soul. Chief, so your cheap granddaughter offended the medicine sect. Haha, it looks like the Misty Fairy house is doomed at this rate. Upon catching the enraged look in the old lord's eye, Mujin just couldn't keep her trap shut and started to get cynical again. Then before that filthy tongue could say any more, Bai Chongfeng's hand had moved, sweeping a gust of energy forward. The roaring force created by the gesture makes a direct impact to the woman's chest and sends her flying backward until her existence eventually makes a loud cracking sound at the wall. Blood kept pouring out of her mouth this time like she suffered a serious injury inside. "You shut up." The old lord's body was starting to exude a visible layer of killing intent, indicating how serious he was. "For now, my medicine sect is forever at odds with the Misty Fairy House. If there's you, then there's no me. If there's me, then there's no you." Everyone was completely left in the dark on why the old grandpa would say this from out of the blue. To them, the old guy had clearly lost it in the head. What's going on? He was still good just now. Why is he suddenly declaring war? Seeing Bai Chongfeng angrily stomping over to Bai Yan's location, everyone quickly came up with an idea. It can't be. This girl offended the medicine sect? Growing more nervous by the second, Jun Tianyu, wife, transforms into a mother hen and hurried to block in front of her granddaughter's body, vigilant in those eyes. "Lord Bai, no matter what happened in the past, she is still just a young child. Why don't you let it go for this one time? What's more, our Misty Fairy House isn't any weaker than the medicine sect. There's no need to go this far for some small misunderstanding. Perhaps it's the preconceived impression she had of the Misty Fairy House, but Bai Yin could honestly say she didn't have any fond feelings for this place. Couple this with the fact that it's them who caused her parents to separate. It only made the fact worse. However, Jun Tianyu's protective act changed that and tore down some of that negativity she had. "This is between me and Yinner. You people from the Misty Fairy House stay out of it." In the old grandpa's view, it's all these people's fault that his precious granddaughter needed to go through such risk. Then looking at the singed appearance around the hair and clothes, the girl literally looked like someone that's been sent into a laundry machine, but worse. It's not hard for this biased old man to want some payback. Then just when Jun Tianyu was still befuddled by Bai Chongfeng's form of address to her own granddaughter, the old man had already reached over from the side to wrangle the poor girl out from behind like an eagle holding a sheepkling. "You're getting real bold now, aren't you? You actually got the nerve to refine an 8th grade recipe. Why didn't those thunderbolts beat you to death so you can learn your lesson? Is it because I'm doting you that you're brave enough to do as you please regardless of the danger?" Compared with the proud and temperamental old Lord Lon, this grandfather of hers had always been on the gentle side. For him to lash out as well in this manner showed how much her behavior had hurt him inside. "Grandfather, I was wrong." Knowing she's at fault, Bai Yin throws out an apology first and admits a mistake. However, she immediately followed it up with another sentence. "But if I had another chance, I would still do it again." "Grandfather?" The crowds of gathering onlookers were dumbfounded. This girl is Lord Bai's long-lost granddaughter? If this is the case, then Ning is Bai Chongfeng's. The patient on the bed shuddered at the realization as well. Bai Ning? Bai Chongfeng? Why didn't I think of it before? The furious Bai Chongfeng, 6. I've said it before that I find her oddly familiar. To think she's Bai Ning's girl. Jun Tianyu had seen the younger version of Bai Ning during a visit. Hence the reason why she still held an impression. As for Yun Feng himself, the man never left the Misty Fairy House until that venture, nor did he interact with anyone from the other two powers. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been so blind to his love's background or identity. "Lord Bai, are you really Yinner's grandfather and Miss Ning's father?" Zhongnan grew ecstatic inside. "You know where my daughter is?" Clenching up in his guts, the old lord would dismiss the fault coming from these people if it means he could get the slightest hint of his daughter's whereabout. Well, excluding Mujin, of course, that one he's going to kill regardless. Back when young Master Yin Feng and Miss Ning fell in love, it was I and my brother who was charged with bringing him back after we snatched the mission away from Mujin. Us brothers didn't like the idea, but the goddess's will is to take him as her husband. Bang! Bai Chongfeng's anger came boiling over again. These people dare to break up my daughter's marriage? Unforgivable. "Grandfather," Bai Yin interjects, her brow furrowing. "He is my Shifu. so you mustn't scare him. Sure enough, the last comment had a quelling effect on that temper. Go on. Later, Zhongnan cast a disgusted glance over to the one responsible. The elder council locked the young lord away, refusing to let him leave the misty fairy house again. Mujin claimed she wanted to know what sort of woman could cause him to be so fascinated, so she went out to investigate. By the time she returned again, that bitch told everyone, spreading claims that Miss Ning is an unkept woman who likes to flirt around with other men. These details are already known to the old lord due to the commotion from earlier, but unlike before, he now knows the one they're talking about was his own daughter. That means the needed requirement for him to explode has come, and it could be seen in the thick layer of murderous aura slowly seeping out of his skin and onto the ground. And she claims her ladyship sold her body out for money and had run off with someone else after finding a wealthier man. Of course, the specific words weren't so bland or kind back then, just that Zhongnan couldn't bring himself to say it out loud. He's afraid it would dirty his own mouth with those foul words. Ha ha ha! The old lord bellows out a mocking laugh like a mad wolf. My daughter! You people believe my precious daughter is someone who would sell her body out for money. Ha ha ha! My shining jewel, the young lady of my medicine sect, to think she would be trampled upon by ants like the bunch of you here. What a farce. We'll laugh. Know this, all of you. My daughter by Ning can take any man that she wants, and they would crawl to her feet if they must just to get a glance at her beauty. Don't even think for a second any of you here are worthy of licking her feet. Letting his words sink and so none would have any delusions of what he meant. Bai Changfeng then shifts his attention to the most important individual that's currently huddling at the corner of the room. You over there? You think the Misty Fairy House can save you? My medicine sect is also one of the 3 major powers in this world. Even for this filthy place that harmed my daughter, it's at best only on equal footing, if not less. Pale in her complexion, Mujin's whole existence was a shivering mess as she curled into a fetal position. I clearly checked the slut's background. How could she suddenly go from an ordinary girl to the lady of the medicine sect? Why? Why? Spill it. Where is my daughter? The old lord literally wanted to rip the woman apart and shred her to pieces. Back then, was it you who injured her? Is it you? Despite the frantic state she was in, Mujin still had enough awareness to know if the truth comes to light, then she's doomed for sure. The fact that those assassins were from her end must remain a secret, regardless of the torture or punishment. You say Bai Ning was injured? The madam asks after catching on to that last bit of information. The furious Bai Changfeng, 7. Yes, my daughter was chased and hunted down by an unknown force. Those pursuers eventually caused enough injury to make it severe enough that she had to entrust her own newborn child to a friend. Sadly, the lady entrusted with my granddaughter passed away early, leaving my dear child to suffer miserably in that home. This is all Mujin and the Misty Fairy House's fault. If not for them, my daughter wouldn't have gone missing and my granddaughter wouldn't have had to suffer so much during her childhood. But there was one question bothering this old grandpa still. His daughter clearly could have returned home to the medicine sect. Why must she entrust the baby to a friend instead of himself? There must be something I don't know yet. A missing piece of the puzzle. Standing there in a daze for a good while, Chief Wu Wei eventually came back to his senses and turned to the one who knew it all. Mujin, what is the meaning of this? Who harmed Bai Ning? Turning slightly green from her already pale face. How would I know, Chief? You don't know. The man huffs a snort. Who is it that told me Bai Ning is only an ordinary girl from a mundane household? And who is it that said she's nothing but a person who sells her own body for benefit? Now you are telling me you don't know who harmed her? You really take everyone for a fool, don't you? I'm almost certain now the one who ordered the pursuers to attack the lady is you, isn't it? Isn't it? Inwardly gnashes her bloodied teeth. If I had known beforehand that slut would breed a bastard child, I would have went in person to finish her off. Then none of this would have happened. Just when Mujin was brooding over her mistake, Yin Feng, the man himself, had snuck over with both hands drawn. Gripping tight, his mad and fierce look gave no doubt he wanted to choke the woman to death. It's fine if you won't admit it. As long as I know it's you, then it's fine. You harm my wife and still want to dirty my family? I will pay you back for everything. Bai Changfeng didn't raise any objections about the remark of his daughter being another man's wife. Only watching silently from one side, his gaze appeared almost approving in that faint nod. It's unavoidable that this old grandpa would behave this way. Sure, he could ignore the fault of his supposed son-in-law, since he didn't mean to leave the mother and child behind, but it's still he who left after being deceived. Grandfather, Bai Yin figures time and decides to bring out the main dish. Regarding what happened to my mother, I have a witness. Sing, Dragoness, go bring him here. At the drop of that command, a woman in a radiant blue dress had waltzed in, her arm dragging a middle-aged man, which she readily threw to the floor. This act alone sent Mujin into a crazy fright. She recognizes that body. Isn't he supposed to be dead? Why is this slut bringing a dead corpse in here for? No one knew what's going on or what Bai Yin intends to do with a cold corpse. But what happened next was enough to make any grown man hurl their guts out, including those who've seen countless battles in life. Through the goading gesture of those fingers, a transparent soul of misty white gradually seeped out of that flesh and floated there within her grasp. Perhaps it's the fact that he's been ripped from his body or the fact that he's denied the chance to move on, but that agonizing expression was eerily spooky and hair-raising. Though it's not making any sound at all, the screams of pure hell could easily be discerned through that howling scream of a face. It's well known that if a person dies, unless the soul was destroyed, they would always leave the body after 3 days in order to reincarnate. But this went beyond convention, for the girl had openly ripped a person's soul out from their body. So what does this mean for everyone? Nothing much aside from Mujin, who's now on the stage. The dirty deeds are surely going to be revealed through a dead man's mouth. And sure enough, that ghostly man who somehow managed to get a second wind at revenge pounced like the haunted ghost that he's become. The furious Bai Changfeng, those ghostly eyes were blood red, voice a shrilling howl like that of someone's fingernail scratching against a wooden plank. This being was in every sense a specter of vengeance than a soul. Losing all color from that face, Mujin hastens to step back from where she stood. Unfortunately for this vile existence of a woman, there's only a window behind her, leaving no other place to run or hide. Mujin, you're only afraid of us revealing your secret of killing that woman. That's why you murdered us all. We did so much for you. I did so much for you. No matter what, I will drag you to hell before I go. The murderous ghost charges in a vain attempt at stealing his former liege's life. An ethereal body has no way to make physical contact with real flesh, so all that accomplished was turning the woman a dreadful white. Mujin's heart was as cold as the dead right now. Looking around, her first instinct was to explain and deny. He's maligning me. I did nothing of that sort. I only killed him because he made a huge mistake. I really didn't. This slap across the face came from Hun Tianyu, wife. She's trembling all over due to the intense rage coursing through those veins. In the end, all that hate and all that anger devolve into nothing but tears of frustration and self-disgust. Who allowed you to touch her? Hand clenching into a tight ball, the madam truly hated herself for acting so late. Do you really think we would keep tolerating your insubordination? I should have killed you years ago, then maybe none of this would have happened. This evil, which not only killed what was supposed to be my daughter-in-law, she's even trying to take my granddaughter as well. Blood seeping continuously out the corner of her mouth, Mujin didn't care what others had to say when things have reached this stage. In her mind, the only opinion she cares for remains to be on one person, and that was Yunfeng. Turning to look up, what returned for her prayers weren't the look of pity or sadness, only the unbridled fury of someone filled with hatred. My vendetta to avenge my wife will never end till the one responsible dies. Mujin, you will pay for what you did with your blood. Gnashing his teeth, Yunfeng squints his eyes into a menacing glare. But letting you die is too easy of a fate for someone like you. You killed my wife. Now I won't let you go unless I destroy your entirety. Boom! At the word, he directly punches the old witch's stomach, causing her to bend over in extreme pain till she's gagging for air. For those watching, none of them intervened, for they knew if they did, the next target of the leading family's ire would be them. The crime Mujin committed being too critical that it's beyond help. Sure enough, Yin Feng's continuous punching didn't stop even after the woman fell to the ground. He just kept pummeling her until one could hear audible cracks. It couldn't be helped. This man who's been lost in a world of delusion and madness for 20 years had nowhere to vent his frustration. And as it so happens, the one responsible for most of his misfortune now stands before him, letting him free to beat and slice with the blades as he please. As for Mujin herself, this woman had given up on her life entirely. There's no turning around at this stage. Reputation ruined, status destroyed, and her most inner secret revealed for all to ridicule. There's nothing else left to keep her in this world. Perhaps this is for the best. At least I can die by the hands of the man I love. Father. Suddenly, a voice throws itself into the frenzy, causing the beet red man from continuing. Turning around, Yin Feng's eyes were starting to tear up. Just now, what did you call me? He's been waiting over 20 years for her to call him that. Now his wish has been fulfilled, so of course he's emotional. Don't let her blood dirty your hands. Want to die in the hands of the one you want. That's only if I give you that chance. Bai Yin snickers inside over the woman's disgusting nature. Okay. Pleased right into his eye, Yin Feng attempts to cover up the emotional joy he felt only to fail miserably with that soppy face. Mujin struggles to raise her head against the one looking down at herself. Once she realizes what the foe intends to do, her first reaction was a huge gasp of unease. What are you going to do? The furious Bai Changfeng not-eat her. Facing Goldie Dragon, Bai Yin mildly gives her command like the order was nothing special. Can I refuse? The poor dragon gapes at what he's just heard. Truth is, mistress. Meek in his tone, I can't get myself to swallow this human. Due to the repeated injuries she suffered thus far, plus those insulting words, Mujin had once again puked blood out from her lungs. Just that this time it came straight from her heart and left that part stinging like something just burst. Yinner, Bai Changfeng decides to speak up, his face an open frown. I want to bring her back to the medicine sect. This took Bai Yin by surprise. She didn't expect her grandfather to want someone like this. She hurt my daughter and insulted my granddaughter. Death is too cheap for her. Let me take her back home, and I will find thousands of ways to make her pay for what she did in the most painful manner possible. All right, Bai Yin nods. I'll give you a Dan recipe as well to go with it. The medicine can revive someone even if they're a breath away from death. A perfect solution when she's about to die. Of course, there are consequences to such a thing. Whenever the user takes pain again, it would be magnified by many folds afterward. Lighting up in the eyes, the old grandpa sounded very pleased. As you wish, I won't let this person responsible for my daughter's suffering off. That said, Bai Changfeng still hasn't forgotten the debt owed by Chief Wu Wei and his group of lackeys. Do the bunch of you still have opinions about my daughter's marriage? Embarrassed and awkward, the chief forces a smile in a vain attempt to smooth the situation. Chief Bai, let me explain first. Explain? Explain what? What's there to explain? You'd better go back and get ready to meet the challenge for my medicine sex. Twitching in a mouth, Chief Wu Wei immediately sneaks a peek to his son Yun Feng for help, hoping the connection there would earn him some leeway. As long as my son speaks up then, Bai Yin will soften up. By then both sides will remain harmonious. Otherwise, war would be unavoidable. However, the expected persuading words never came, only the inaction and ignoring attitude. Father-in-law, I am willing to leave the Misty Fairy House and take on your family name. Would you be willing to have me? Umph. Chief Wu Wei coughs a few times after hearing those damning words. Wife, do you see that? They all say daughters like to side with others. Now it's our son who's siding with others. Not showing any compassion or pain over her husband's woe, Jun Tianyu instead came in front of her son's side and stood with him. Yin Feng, I am so happy that you recovered so you could do whatever you like. What's more, I will also come with you to the medicine sect, because I can already tell your father intends to give you away to that whatever goddess again. Towards this unified offense of mother and son, Bai Changfeng was rather pleased inside over this. He's very angry still over his daughter's fate at the hands of these people, so the grudge he held only got suppressed, not dismissed. All right, my medicine sect is big and wealthy anyways. A few extra mouths to feed is nothing for us. Since your so-called husband and father is such a weak person inside, then it's best to leave him anyways. He too doesn't want such a cowardly in-law. Don't go too far, Bai Changfeng. The chief was downright livid in his face. Not only does this old fart want to steal my son, he's also trying to steal my wife. I'm only enduring you because I don't want my son and my granddaughter to be sad. Don't think for a second I am scared of your medicine sect. I don't care. Bai Yin shrugs then to cut in, smiling all the way as she turned to the Zhong brothers. Shifus, do you two also want to come back to the medicine sect with me? Her grandfather was currently supporting her father. As the good daughter and granddaughter, it's only proper there be no internal conflict and only good support. And sure enough, Bai Changfeng became rather satisfied inside. That's right, Yinner is taking my side. So what if she's related to these people? It's always the grandfather that's the most important. HA? The furious Bai Changfeng. 10. In terms of importance, the Misty Fairy House was definitely up there, but to the Zhong brothers who just had a new lease on life, their newfound student remains to be number one. What's more, the both of them knows fair well that Bai Yin wouldn't really make a move against her own relatives, merely an act to scare the chief in order to get some good old payback for what he did years ago. I also want to go to the medicine sect. I won't be your son-in-law, though, but I can be your godson. How about that? Meek in his demeanor, the womanizer decides to join in on the fun as well after getting the full picture from their conversation. He's the latest one to come over, so it took him a while to understand what's been happening. Or a granddaughter's husband is good too. Of course, that's something he would only say aloud if he wasn't related to Bai Yin. Now that he knows the girl was his niece, the idea had long left him. He may be a womanizer, but he's no pervert that's interested in incest. You, all of you. Chief Wu Wei nearly puked blood at this outrageous setup. Do they all want to drive me mad or something? Also, when did I ever say I want to give Yin Feng to that goddess? That's right. Bai Changfeng happily adds oil to the mix by nodding approvingly. I only have a daughter and son in my lifetime. To be able to get another son from out of nowhere is not a bad deal at all. The womanizers I blew up with glee. Elder Bai, are you saying you agree? Oh, father, you are my father from now on. Sun Huan, the chief snaps out at his second son. Your real father here isn't dead yet. How could you go recognize another person as your old man? Oh, what misfortune! How could I have created such an unfilial son? Puckering his lip to one side. And look at how big bro turned out. He's always been filial and obedient to you. And look what happened. In the end, you only wanted to give him to that goddess. Thank goodness I was young back then, so she didn't fancy me. But now that I'm older and handsomer than my brother, I can be sure she would ask for me instead. If I have to offer myself up to an old ancient hag, I would rather leave and become Elder Bai's son. From the womanizer's word alone, one could tell he too had a lot of complaints regarding the treatment of his older brother Yin Feng by the hands of these people. Now to become aware of the misfortunate fate of their family being separated for over 20 years, that displeasure only grew in kind. Shuddering at his own son's retort, Chief Wu Wei couldn't fault in the unfilial boy's logic. In the end, despite that moving jaw like he wants to speak, no words ever came like he's at a loss for a proper response. Why waste time with him? Let's go back my medicine sect, so we can celebrate the new members to the family. Grumbling at the waste of time, the old grandpa decides to push for an early departure. Bai Changfeng may not be a lot of things in his life, but he would never act like a coward who would use his own children to pray for peace. And that's exactly what Chief Wu Wei of the Misty Fairy House did. That knowledge made him feel disgusted just being in the person's presence. Chief Wu Wei, H.A. Wu Wei is such a fitting name for someone like you. Inaction is truly suited for a personality like yours. Note, Wu Wei actually means something similar to inaction in Chinese. For those wondering, Every character in this has a name that means something to either the nature of their character or some event that they would experience further along the story. The sarcastic mockery completely leaves the chief too ashamed to look up. However, the discomfort of knowing he's about to lose his wife and children got the better of him. All right, by Chong Feng. I admit it was I who's at fault back then. For that I apologize. However, you can forget about taking away my wife and children. Shooting a peek in return. Are you sure you can stop us? Why not? Chief Wu Wei steps forward to put up a strong front. My Misty Fairy House and your medicine sect is equal in power. Even if we butt heads, you won't be able to come out on top. Quiet for a moment, by Chong Feng decides to bring in reinforcement. And if we add in the Holy Land. Holy Land? Our three forces have always been harmonious. And if I remember correctly, didn't you steal one of their elders' much-coveted genius recently? Don't tell me you intend to get them to join your side when you've done that. The Furious by Chong Feng, 11, ho ho, by Chong Feng only scoffs a laugh at the comment. This guy obviously doesn't know, because the Holy Land's people already left when he came over that day. While their bickering and sly comments were continuing to ensue, a faint yet powerful voice had cut in again from the air, causing everyone to look over in that direction. What is going on here? Who's going to team up to deal with the Misty Fairy House? Yh, by Chong Feng. What are you doing here instead of staying at your medicine sect? These two old men felt slightly taken aback by who's already present, but that opinion soon changed to protest. Damn it, this old fart beat us to the punch again. He's here to rob our merit of helping Yinner with these from the Misty Fairy House. That must be why he's here. Rennie, Chiao Shu Rong, what are you two doing here? Likewise, Chief Wu Wei also didn't expect these two fellas to arrive. I invited by Chong Feng, so it's normal for him to be here, but what's with these two coming uninvited? And seeing that hostile look in their eyes when I asked, they're obviously not here because of the medicine sect or by Chong Feng. We're here to find someone. Now it looks like that's not needed anymore. Ren, he makes a faint chuckle before eventually landing his line of sight on the reddish woman with those morning eyes. Lassie, how could you quietly run over to the Misty Fairy House without so much as talking to us first? Do you not take us as your shifus or something? Shifus? There was silence in the room as they thought on the idea. Chief Wu Wei didn't fare so well either, making a face of solid brick because his brain's too busy working. The status of these two in the Holy Land is undoubtedly very high, but I must still consider this on whether or not the lord of the Holy Land would begin a war for their sake. After all, a three-way war between the three major powers are no laughing joke. Just when the person was going over several possibilities and scenarios, Chiao Shu Rong decides to speak up. Oh, my precious disciple, how can you be so impulsive? Do you think I don't know what sort of makeup these from the Misty Fairy House have? Even before coming, the Lord specifically told me that I mustn't let you be wronged by these people. If they do, you're to go back immediately and tell him, so he can come in person to pay them back. Warm to the heart over the kindness, Bai Yin knows full well how much care she has received during the years she stayed in the Holy Land. Don't worry, I won't be wronged. Smiley face at her two precious teachers. Let me do some introductions first. These two over here are my two new shifus from the Misty Fairy House. They've been very good to me while I've been here. Rennie and Chiao Shu Rong both pricked their brows at the notion. It looks like our Shifu team has grown by another two members. Not bad at all. Combined together, we should be enough to get ahead of this by Chong Feng and stick it to him. Huffing a grunt at being pointed out, the old grandpa cocks his chin high with his hands crossed against his chest. Even if you add more people, it won't make a difference. I am Yin Yan's grandfather, her closest relative, so you got nothing on me. That's right, no one can match my status. Excessively twitching the corner of his mouth, Elder Zhongnan, older, had to make a few awkward coughs to get his composure back. Since all of us are shifus, then there's no need to be so polite. But as far as I know, none of you should be able to produce an 8th grade alchemist as a student, or am I missing something? 8th grade alchemist? Dismayed by this knowledge, the two new arrivals from the Holy Land were gawking at each other before finally landing on the girl's figure. This lassie is now an 8th grade alchemist? But before the both of them could ask for more details, An ear-piercing cry of sobbing tears had cut them off. "Wife, I know I am wrong. Please don't leave me." Clinging onto Jun Tianyu's leg and sobbing like a total loser was none other than Chief Wu Wei. It's obvious the last ounce of pride and prestige he held had been destroyed. Now, he desperately wanted to salvage his marriage before he loses it all. The Furious by Chong Feng. 12. I'm not letting go. Unless you promise not to leave me, I won't ever let go. Pride? What's that? If I let my pride get the better of me now, then I'm going to lose my wife and child. That stuff can move aside. The chief still had enough sense left in him to know what's more important. Originally, he did want to use forceful means to make by Chong Feng keep his people from leaving, but the medicine sect and Holy Land's already about to team up on himself. Meaning, what chip does he have left to play? In times like these, being the weaker crab is the king's path. Against her own husband's quick change of attitude, downright weak, Jun Tianyu was extremely irked, and that could be seen in the beet red color of those cheeks. She's not only angry, but also greatly embarrassed at her man's lack of standard. You scram. I'm not scramming. If I scram, then you won't be coming back. Clinging even tighter onto his wife's leg now, the chief's appearance bordered on the line of humiliation. I know I'm wrong now, wife. Please don't leave me. I won't force you in phone again, so you mustn't go otherwise. Otherwise what? Jun Tianyu mocks her own husband using that sarcastic tone. Otherwise I will go to the medicine sect too and refuse to leave. The only way by Chong Feng can get rid of me is to drive all of us out. That comment instantly leaves a series of black lines across the old grandpa's face. My medicine sect doesn't welcome you. I don't care. If you dare take my wife and children away, then I'm going to loaf around at your home. You must also feed me well and take care of my living expenses. Before the man could even finish his ridiculous statement, Bai Chong Feng had already heard enough and sent a kick over his protest. Get out of here. It's not enough that he wants to loaf around my home. He also wants me to feed him well and take care of his living expenses? Dream on. Chief Wu Wei, making an exasperated face, the poor old grandpa sucks in a deep breath in order to gather the air for what he's about to say. I'll give you one last chance. If you can find my daughter, then I'll forgive you for the sake of my granddaughter. For Yin Feng, who's been staying quiet to one side, the man naturally lit up at the notion of his wife being alive. Father-in-law, is Ninger still alive? My wife is alive still? Due to the emotional excitement he felt at the possibility, the patient couldn't control his appearance at all and could be read by everyone on what he's intending to do. If Ninger is dead, then where did Yin come from, you fool? Peeking over to the person who's now staring intently at his every move, Bai Chong Feng says the obvious, but I am not 100% sure on the matter either. If the worst comes to pass, then you people from the Misty Fairy House better prepare yourself. And you can forget about being my son-in-law. I won't take someone who indirectly caused my daughter's death. Regarding the threat and whatnot, Yin Feng could care less. To him, someone that's been lost for the past 20 years, he only has his wife in mind, and now he couldn't even bear to stand alive without her. She's alive. As he laughed and laughed at the wonderful news, tears slowly trickled down his cheeks as well. Ninger, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. I am useless. I couldn't protect you and keep you safe. If not for my incompetence, then you wouldn't have suffered so much pain during my absence. Looking at the pitiful appearance of the younger man, Bai Chong Feng honestly couldn't bring himself to hate the person. He's very tight inside. One part of his mind felt happy that someone had such strong feelings for his daughter, the other for the misfortune he brought along with the relationship. If only this child isn't from the Misty Fairy House, how good would that be? Perhaps then Ninger would still be around, and Yin wouldn't have had to suffer so much during her childhood. Rinyu and Xiao Shurong were both very confused by this sudden form of address. What is going on here? When did you become the father-in-law of the Misty Fairy House? A humph. Elder Zhongbei Younger coughs a few times to clear his throat. Things are complicated. Despite that, the younger brother of the two used the easiest form of words to describe and explain the events of earlier. This way, the two new arrivals from the Holy Land would get a clearer picture of the relationship they now all shared. Of course, the main topic mainly revolves around the lies produced by Mujin and of how the old hag wanted to deceive everyone into harming by Yin. Outrageous! Qiushu Rong, third, puts on exasperated face. My disciple's status within the Holy Land is one of a kind. Our Lord loves her, and our princess trails behind her at all times. Even our young lord had tried to abduct her on several occasions, only to fail miserably. Oomph! Ren E. second hurries to cut in with his voice. Yin Yan's father is still around, you idiot. The Furious by Chong Feng, 13, sure enough. The last tidbit about someone trying to kidnap his daughter had finally brought the man's attention back to reality. He may be mostly filled with a yearning moment where he and his wife reunites again, but that's still far into the future and not now. This mistake, my mistake, all embarrassed, Qiushu Rong III hurries to correct himself. No matter what, Yin Yan's identity within our Holy Land is extremely high. There's no reason for her to discard that to come to the Misty Fairy House. Mujin had been listening in on every despite her dreadful condition. Due to the excessive blood loss and repeated injury, she's incapable of speaking or moving, only able to stare intently with her murky eyes like she's unable to accept fate. Yin Yin, you should hand this Mujin to us in the Holy Land instead. The torture chambers inside the punishment hall is much more suited for the likes of her. No way. Bai Chong Feng angrily refuses. Yinner already promised to hand that wretched woman over to me for disposal. I won't let you rob me of my pleasure of getting payback. So what if I'm robbing you? It's not like it's the first time you rob people from our Holy Land anyways. It's about time us brothers got some payback on you. I said no, so it's a no. You bunch from the Holy Land is too soft, totally incapable of properly making her regret for what she's done. The onlooking crowds were dead silent as they all watched the bickering nonsense from the three prestigious old seniors. It's one thing to compete between themselves for some geniuses. After all, that's expected for every power and faction out there. But now they're arguing over who gets custody of a prisoner. That's just ridiculous. Humph. Excuse me, but Mujin is a person in my Misty Fairy House. If there is any punishment to be made, I believe I should be the one who gets to decide. Chief Wu Wei decides to chime in after some thought. This would be a good opportunity to make up for my past mistake, otherwise I might get demoted even further than I already have in front of my family. Scram! Who do you think you are? I still haven't settled the debt with you yet, and you dare come shove your face in front of us? Heck, I'm seriously worried you might just let this woman go if we're not looking. Originally, the three bickering old fellas were still going at it, until the annoying pest decides to cut in. And without deviating from expectation, they promptly unified to shut the chief down and glared daggers at the person. Against the complete lack of respect, Chief Wu Wei could only say he's absolutely steaming. I'm still the leader of the Misty Fairy House. When I have to endure such indignation, damn it, if not for my wife and children, I wouldn't even put up with you bastards. You all want to quarrel, then do so afterwards. I came to the Misty Fairy House for a seed from the Bloodvine plant. Bai Yin figured it's time she stepped in lest this drags on till midnight. Oh, how careless of me. Jun Tianyu pats her own forehead like a forgetful person. What are you still standing there for? Don't you see your granddaughter is asking for the Bloodvine? Hurry and go grab it before I get angry. Oh, yes, wife. Coming back to his senses, Chief Wu Wei made quick work of running inside to retrieve said item. Minutes later, he's returned with the precious box holding the seed inside. The elders of the Misty Fairy House had wanted to protest at the sight, but in the end, they couldn't bring themselves to speak up in light of those moving jaws. Here you go, Yinner. All flattering in his demeanor, the chief offers up the prize. Who said you can call her that? Bai Chong Feng snorts, all huffing and puffing. Qiushu Rong, third, also frowns over the form of address. You should be calling her Miss Bai Yin. As for Runny, this usually calm elder from the Holy Land didn't openly speak out due to his character, but that disapproval gaze said it all. These old bastards are too much. The chief complains, feeling hurt and wanting to cry. The Bloodvine seed that you wanted. In the end, the man decides to outright not address the girl. He knows that if he did call her Yinner again, then they would not let it settle. And since he's not willing to lower himself to the point of doing a formal greeting, since he was the girl's grandfather as well, the best course of action would be to skip on the subject. Forgive me, okay? 1. With the seed in hand, the only thing left now was for her to treat by Xiaqin of his condition. Yinner, what about this Mujin? How should we deal with her? Qiu Rong shoots an angry glare at the ashen-looking woman who remained curled up on the floor. Brooding over the question, Baiyin decides to stick with the original plan. I have promised to give her to my grandfather earlier. If you're bored, you can also go the medicine to play. It doesn't matter anyways. My grandfather is wealthy enough, so you don't need to be polite or conservative. Bai Chongfeng's face literally contorted at that comment. Oh, the irony. How can this girl do this to me? Her own grandfather. Making a dry cough, Qiu Rong turns to his brother after seeing how Baiyin was already leading Tsing Yi and her 2 followers away. What should we do now, Ren-Yi? Arching his brow at the dilemma, the second elder from the Holy Land merely gives a shrug. I guess we should wait for Yinner to come back before deciding. We still haven't confirmed Xiaqin's health yet, so how can we just leave? Health. Bai Chongfeng was still distressing over his own home's impending expense increase when he overheard that last bit. Unsure, he hurries to ask, what do you mean by Xiaqin's health? Did something happen to him? Don't you know? The whole reason Yinner came to the Misty Fairy House is to locate the Bloodvine seeds and to treat Xiaqin. Sighing, he shakes his head in disappointment. And from what I can discern, one of the main reasons behind the child's injury is related to his own father. Though the Holy Land elder didn't know the exact details or what happened, but based on the attitude and extreme anger Little Rice showed at the mention of Ditsong's name from before was enough to tell him enough. If I had known things would turn out this way, then I would have helped the young lord pursue Yinner back then. That way both mother and child wouldn't have been hurt. What? The old grandpa flies into a rage. Xiaqin's injury is related to Ditsong? What the heck is he doing as a father? How could he allow his own son to be in such a terrible state? I absolutely won't agree to him being beside my granddaughter's side again. Xiaqin? Hearing the name being repeatedly mentioned by these old fellas, Yinfeng eventually allowed the curious side of him to take charge. Who is this Xiaqin you guys keep bringing up? It's Bai Yan's son. Snap. Yunfeng could visibly see and hear his own vital cord breaking apart from the news. Quivering so slightly in the lip, he had trouble believing Qiu Rong's 3rd word. This is unfair. I was only gone for 20 years. How can my daughter already have son? I'll find a bastard who sweet-talked my precious baby and beat him to a pulp. Senior Qiu 3rd, understanding the younger man's woe, Qiu Rong waves his hand. Regardless of what happens, we can talk about this after Yinner returns. The gesture stopped any question he had wanted to make. Giving a bitter nod, Yunfeng knew that's the best solution. Okay, let's wait for my daughter's return before continuing this discussion. Outside the city's premise, Baiyin didn't need to look far before the distinct features of her precious little baby came into view. Woo-woo. The troublemaker also showed great joy and hurried to jump into those arms. Son, where have you been these past couple of days? Tightly embracing the boy, she asked with a slight hint of worry and displeasure at being alone for so long. If mother finds out I was with Batty father, would she take me as a little traitor? The little fox hangs his head like a guilty boy. Just when the little guy was all tied inside over this, Baiyin went ahead to bring out the prize she just earned. It's the seed, and she's very happy to be able to treat her baby boy. Forgive me, okay? 2. She did not give Bai Xiaqin a chance to speak or explain. Tapping her feet as light as a feather, she dashes toward the nearest pile of risen earth in the distance. Xiong Mountain, standing as the highest alp within the borders of the Misty Fairy House. It's said that there once lived a divine entity at the highest peak. As a result, the area has become famous among its locals and would attract a good number of adventurous youngsters to trek its rigorous terrains in hopes of meeting that supposed divine being. But in reality, none has truly ever reached the highest point, not even once. There are simply too many demonic beasts lurking in its environment. Unless one had the strength of a monarch rank, They could forget about even making an attempt, let alone climbing its dangerous cliffs and rocky paths. However, nothing lasts forever. At this moment atop of the Cheong Mountain, where fluffy white clouds shrouded its view, there stood a quaint-looking cabin that's currently being occupied by an almost fairy-like man. Silvery hair with a pristine white robe. There's not a trace of blemish on that handsome face, which oozed a sense of age and sadness. Suddenly, the wind from behind began to blow, causing that hand holding the jade flute to react with a quiver. "Have you found Bloodvine?" Standing there against the open window was Bai Yin with her brow faintly arched at being recognized despite the man having his back faced against herself. "I've brought it, and I've come as you told me to after getting the plant. What method do you intend to use to heal my son?" That day before she left with her son, Chu Igad had told her what to do. First locate the Bloodvine or its seed, then come to the highest peak of the Cheong Mountain in order to seek him out. "Hand the seed to me." Finally coming around, the man remains indifferent in the eyes despite the shallow smile he made. Slightly hesitant at first, Bai Yin hands the box over in the end. The poor woman doesn't know why either, but she believes this strange individual who shared a strong similarity to Chui Feng would help herself despite all the mystery. And sure enough, the man promptly drew a small knife from his waist. Flicking the blade against the tip of that stretched finger, blood quickly trickled down that serene skin and dripped onto the seed. Taken aback by the suddenness of the move, Bai Yin slightly trembled inside at the length this person would go. She's not exactly sure what's happening, but based on her speculation, that droplet of blood was a portion of his spiritual essence, meaning once used, then it's gone forever. That's a big taboo for any cultivator because it's a heavy blow to one's strength and health. Without fault or deviation, the seed gradually began to sprout into a tiny red sapling. "Why are you doing this for me?" She felt all complicated inside. "That's right, we're not related or acquainted. Why does he keep helping me?" In response to the question, Chu Igad only showed a glimmer of imperceptible pain from within his eyes. "Why help you?" "Because I owe you. Maybe it's a fated coincidence." Smiling in his face, the man deliberately makes an excuse. "When I first laid eyes upon you, I felt very close and just had the urge to help. Time continues to flow under this quiet awkwardness, and through the nourishment of the fairy-like man's effort, mostly blood, the sapling has now grown big enough to begin flowering. It's a radiant plant, giving off a heart-stopping light from its existence." Shockingly enough, Bai Yin didn't feel comfortable gazing at the thing. Her instincts told her if she did so, the plant would suck her soul out and into that thing. "The blood vine has been forcibly flowered by me. Now the boy only needs to consume it in order to restore his human form." Flicking his finger for the second time, the flower instantly turns into a ball of reddish hue before shooting into the little fox's mouth. The process wasn't without its hurdles, though. Curling into a ball, the poor kid made repeated moans and groans of someone in pain. Those eyes were covered in tears as he looked up helplessly at Bai Yin for help. "Son," aghast in her face, the anxious mother hurries to ask, "How long will the pain continue? Forgive me, okay?" 3. Then before Bai Yin could get a proper answer, Bai Xiaoqin's painful squirming had stopped. Eyes closed and curled into a ball, there now appears a glowing tattoo-like symbol across the kid's temple, which represented the blood vine inside his body. "He's fine now. When he wakes up again, he'll have recovered, so you can let him rest in that bed over there." Gesturing to the other room in this cabin, Chu Igad mildly puts the woman's anxious heart to rest with that statement. Relieved, the mother did exactly as told and carefully placed her son atop of the bed. Only then did she leave the cabin for the outside. "You just now, are you okay?" Regardless of how or what she felt towards this stranger, Bai Yin should rightfully ask about the man's well-being after all he's done. Umph. Coughing so slightly as if he's trying to muffle out his own discomfort, Chu Igad turns around to show a spellbinding smile that's out of this world. "I'm fine. You don't need to worry about me." Then out of habit, the man went ahead to ruffle the woman's hair like he's always done so in the past. By the time he's come to his senses and realized what was done, those fingers were already as stiff as a rock. Thank you. Not noticing the oddity in the other side's movement, Bai Yin inhales deeply before giving the man a grateful hug. If it wasn't for you, then my son wouldn't have recovered so much, and I have a strong feeling like I've known you all along. Were you my older brother in a past life? Older brother? The man twitches so slightly at the last bit. Staring closely into the female's eye, his face showed a bittersweet smile like he's in some sort of pain. To think the sweet little girl who always followed behind myself would come around and say something like this one day. She should have been my wife, and she almost did if not for the mistake I did. Now what was done can never be undone, and we can never return to the old happy times we shared either. Maybe we were, the man sighs, patting her back in response to the hug. This is for the best. At least she wouldn't hate me if she continues to forget. Yin Yin, what are you two doing? All of a sudden, a familiar voice of anger and jealousy interjects on their moment, causing the woman to stiffen over at the sound signature. Overbearing, tyrannical, and mesmerizingly seductive, this was none other than the one and only Demon Lord. Di Tsang. As soon as Bai Yin swung around to meet that face, her inner anger exploded. Just because he left a wisp of power around to protect me during the critical moment doesn't mean I'm going to forgive what he did. Without extra word or inquiry into the state of things, Di Tsang unleashes his all and allows his power to manifest across the entire mountain peak. Under this might, even the air itself had begun to twist and deform. But that's not all. From within the rippled void of the eternal darkness, the great demon Lord only needs a wave of his hand to summon out countless ominous blades of pure chaos before firing them off to the pristinely white man currently still hugging his wife. Thankfully, Chu Egad wasn't nobody either. In a flash of glorious radiance, his body disappears in the next second and allowed the destructive attack to skimmer through the air and into the earth. This had the indirect effect of cutting off a whole chunk of the peak, leaving an awkward-shaped mass of rock and dirt to topple down the cliffside and eventually creating a landslide from the momentum. Stop it! Seeing how these two are about to battle it out in front of herself, Bai Yin immediately lashes out and snapped. If you two want to fight, then get lost. I won't tolerate any form of disturbance while my son is resting inside the cabin. The momentum of both males were quite monstrous and frightening to even the strongest masters of this world, but at her word and threat, it just suddenly disappears like someone choked the life out of them. Forgive me, okay? 4. Yin Yin is my wife. The next time you touch her, I will chop off that hand. Showing a faint smirk in return, Chu Egad clearly had other opinions. What she wants to do is her business. You can't stop her. Yes, I can't stop her from doing what she wants, but I can strangle any bastard who tries to woo her. Come one, and I'll strangle one. Come two, and I'll strangle two. In this life, she is destined to be my wife. Giving a warning glare to the other side that's also floating in the air, Di Tsang then descends to his wife's side. In that moment, from what was an intense and oppressive aura, was now a flattering and pleading face. Yin Yin, I can give you an explanation for what happened that day. Dry and a little hoarse in his voice, the desperate man tightly grasps onto Bai Yan's hand. I was framed. That wasn't me that day. It was state teacher's mess. He created a substitute of me, and that person impersonated me. Countless emotions could be found fluctuating within the woman's face, but in the end, she did let it go. Oh, what does "oh" mean? Yin Yin, don't you believe me? I believe, she said before. If he comes and give her an explanation, then she would believe him. But, then you forgive me? Elated inside, Di Tsang's firm grasp strengthened a bit over the happiness. Take a guess. Tilting her head to one side, Bai Yin answers with an undiscernible smile that left him uncertain and nervous. I slightly aggrieved in the eyes. Can I not guess? Then get out of my face. Huffing and puffing, Bai Yin had to take a heavy, deep breath before she could suppress the urge to yell at him. Not willing to poke the hornet's nest, Di Tsang decides to focus his attention back to the competition. Squinting his eyes into a narrow slit, a powerful sense of sourness could be felt in the air as he eyed Chu Egad. As always, If there's no room to vent his anger at the one he loves, then it's only to be expected for him to turn to the closest target at hand. I won't go. Song viciously states his term. From here on forward, no matter where you go, whether it be the heavens or hell itself, I will accompany you to the ends of earth. You can't drive me away. Bai-yin promptly rolled her eyes at this big dummy. I know, you idiot. Truth is, I already knew I might have misunderstood you that day when I realized you left a wisp of power to protect me. Back then she was blinded by anger, hence the reason why she couldn't reason out the flaws in the whole situation. If the matter didn't affect her so greatly, Bai-yin most definitely would have taken a different path from what she did. But Song, do you know what is the most important when two different individuals are trying to be together? Showing a blank face like most men would under such questioning, the great demon lord looked confused and clueless. It's being frank and truthful. You've been keeping a lot of things from me, so why should I give you another chance? And why are you coming to see me when you aren't willing to be truthful? Pursing her lips, Bai-yin gives one final fleeting glance before slamming the door in her husband's face. Forgive me, okay? 5, son. Cupping her mouth as the emotional tears trickled down those cheeks, Bai-yin couldn't believe what she was seeing. Mother, the soft voice instantly sent the poor woman racing over to the bedside. Pulling the little steam bun into her arms, she unleashes her pent-up anxiety into various forms of kisses and hugs. It's so good you've recovered, it's so good. Perhaps it's due to the kid only just waking up from his nap, but as soon as the haziness left those eyes, the boy immediately showed clarity and realizes what's happening. Don't cry, mother. I will always be a good child and never leave you. I'm sorry, Xiaoqin. I'm so sorry. Her voice filled with regret and pain. If I wasn't so incompetent, then he wouldn't have had to suffer such heavy injuries. The reasons why she didn't forgive Song right away earlier most definitely had to do with the dishonesty and lack of trust between them both, but the other remains mostly because of their son's injury. Though not deliberate, the careless dote did have a hand in the cause. As punishment, she intends to make him suffer for a while. Mother, I have something to tell you. Biting his lower lip, Bai Xiaoqin grew hesitant in his demeanor. Batty father told me that the incident wasn't his intention. It's someone pretending to be him. Also, he only left the palace due to something and had Fire Plume come back to inform us. But he didn't expect the fool to screw it up. Bai-yin's expression gradually darkened following every step of those words. Yet Bai Xiaoqin remains oblivious to the fact and continued. Mother, do you want to meet with Batty father? Unbeknownst to the naive little kid, his actions have already sold himself out, and that could be seen in the woman's chilling smile, making an involuntarily shudder. Mother, your smile is very scary. Sweetie, tell mother this one. Creepily chilly in her voice. During the past couple of days, were you with him the entire time? Shrinking his neck in, he silently nods. I was taken away by Batty father. Mother is angry, so scary. In order to protect himself, the little steam bun could only push the fault entirely onto his old man. So, it's you who drew Song here? Bai-yin's smiling face deepened with the use of a menacing tone, blinking his eyes in confusion. The poor boy clearly didn't understand the last question. I didn't bring Batty father, but I did promise him I would ask for your permission, mother. I understand then. Slowly coming before the doorway, Bai-yin promptly slid the door open to reveal the eavesdropping man. Instantly, the kid gawked at the sight of Song in his awkward position of leaning forward like a thieving spy. Why is Batty father here? Song, you are quite skillful, you know. To think you would trick your own son into leading you to me, and could even make him speak kindly on your behalf. Moody in her appearance, Bai-yin's smile grew very dangerous. Towards this, the demon lord himself only felt a creepy chill running through his robe and under his skin. It's so bad that he actually shivered for a bit, something that shouldn't be possible. Yin, let me explain. In his urgency, Song makes a grab for the woman's arm. I just... Let go. She snaps upon contact. I'm not letting go. If I let go, then I won't be able to find you again. Turning red in his eyes, the man didn't care anymore and pushed forward to allow his size advantage to take hold. Pressing his lips against hers, he begins to vent the frustration and longing he's held thus far onto his wife. Forgive me, okay? 6. Based on what excuse could he stop them from leaving? Heck, what right does he even have to say he could? So, in his desperation, Song did what he knew best and used action to speak for itself. Scram. Irritated, Yin bites down at that unwanted lip, causing it to bleed and the blood to fill her taste bud with strong flavor of iron. Even so, aside from the initial pain and diluting of his eyes over the shock, he continued to hold her tight like a greedy pig that he was at the moment. Don't force me. In her rage, Yin resorts to using force and slams hard at the man's chest. In an instant, the man staggers backward as a trickle of blood seeped from the corner of his mouth. Song, exclaiming with great fright, Yin was both annoyed and worried at her husband's pale complexion. Why did you not dodge? If letting you punch me can quell your anger, then I'll gladly take it. Even if you get a knife to stab me a few times, I still won't dodge. Taking the opportunity to grasp onto that dainty hand, the man's lip had curved into a dumb grin. Forgive me, okay? She didn't reply right away, only lowering her head like she's thinking of something as her heart pounded away from the indecision. Yin, I really know I am wrong. Tightening his grasp onto hers to not give any room for wiggling. You said you wanted the celestial realm before, so I was busy mustering the forces on them. The reason I didn't tell you is because I wanted it to be a surprise. I honestly didn't expect you to misunderstand that. Please, I won't keep anything from you from here on afterwards. Jerking up in surprise, the woman's voice sounded shaky. I was only joking back then. How could you take my careless remark as real? A droplet of sweat came pouring down the idiot's side, but I took it seriously. Yin, you should know by now I would take anything you say with absolute seriousness. All firm in his voice, he locked eyes with his love to show that conviction, pursing her lip against that intense stare. Since you have already begun your attack on the celestial realm, fine, I will lower myself into accepting the difficult task of ruling that world. However, I don't need you to solely carry on that burden using only your strength. I prefer to do it myself. Although Yin did not say it outright, the man still got enough from those words to understand what she meant. She's going to join the battle and fight alongside him. Yin, does that mean you will forgive me? Delighted in his face, Song's focus remains forever locked on his wife's contour. Against the excited voice, Yin immediately got dubious and started to suspect something because of how quickly Song recovered from her attack. Aren't you injured still by my punch? How come? Going stiff like a rock, it's obvious he's been caught. Hurrying to come up with a proper excuse after seeing the darkening expression of his wife. Yin, everything I said is true, so can you forgive me? I won't move or dodge if you want to stab me with a knife, and because you had just broken into the monarch rank not long ago, I'm impervious to your attacks. Steaming in her darkish red face, Yin now got the gist of it. So, is he looking down at me because my powers are lower than his? If I didn't hurt you, then why are you pretending? And you also spit blood out as well. He admits faking his injury was bad, but Song was innocent on the second charge that's being pressed against himself. If he didn't bite me so hard then, I wouldn't have bled. Don't mess with the father-in-law. 1. Seeing her man's guilty expression, Yin knew right away she's been deceived. Showing a rippling smile, the woman appeared ominous and dangerous. How dare you lie to me? Please listen to me. Let me explain. In his urgency, Song wanted to defend himself only to be stopped by that blocking hand and freaky chuckle. Son, we're leaving. Your great-grandfather is still waiting for us. Bai Xiaoqin had only finished taking his first step out of the cabin when he heard this order. As such, he could do nothing but cast a helpless glance toward his old man before cleverly making his way down the mountain peak with his mother. Originally, Song had wanted to catch up to his family right away, but as soon as he did so moving forward, he stopped upon remembering something crucial. Turning around, his proud face dons a smug grin at the competition. Next time when it comes time for my daughter's first-month celebration, I will definitely invite you to attend. Despite the provocative statement akin to a war declaration, Chewy God, did not show any changes to his perennially serene face. He's the wind, he's the sun. Nothing in this world seems to matter to this divine entity. Hopefully, you would really have that day. Huffing a grunt at that, the demon lord didn't want to drag the conversation out and disappeared in a flash of purplish light, thus leaving behind only the pained-looking divine being in the background. Lord, standing behind the man now, was a woman wearing a greenish-black dress. Respectful in her voice, this new arrival kneels down in respect. I've been ordered to inquire on when your lordship would return to the celestial realm. Cold and indifferent, God peers down at this messenger with the look of someone devoid of emotions. It looks like my words are deaf to you people. Turning ghastly white over that sentence, the woman hurries to lower her head into a prostrating position. Your servant here would never dare. Don't dare. His voice sounding distant and untouchable. If you don't dare, then why are you still calling me Lord? Years ago, I've already laid down my wish. There will be no celestial Lord again. Yet you people continue to call me Lord despite orders to only call me Sir. If that's not daring, then what is? Quivering there like a frightened hamster, the woman had 1,000 unwilling words to say. However, her lips did not move, only shutting themselves into a tight, thin line. Out of my sight. The man's complexion darkened. Without my order from this point forward, none of you are allowed to come to this world. Yes, sir. Clenching her teeth, the woman wearing the greenish-black dress didn't understand this, or why that woman could still possess such love from the Lord after 1,000 years. At this time back over in the main residence, Bai Changfeng and the others are still waiting for Bai Yan's return. Then, just as they were discussing on how to locate Bai Ning using what little information they possessed, the long-awaited woman and her son has arrived. For Jun Tianyu, wife, who caught sight of her great-grandchild first, this loving grandmother took the initiative to ask, "Is this child Xiachen?" "Yes, grandmother." All smiles at the inquiry, Bai Yin rubs the kid's head and urges him forward. "Go on, called great-grandmother. Don't mess with the father-in-law, too. Great-grandmother. You were so young, I almost thought you were my grandmother instead." Blooming into a huge smile, Jun Tianyu became overjoyed at the flattery. "Your tongue is so sweet. Great-grandmother here heard you're hurt? Don't worry, I won't let anyone harm you again while you're here in the Misty Fairy House, especially from your father." Blinking his cute blue eyes, Bai Xiachen felt rather sorry for his old man. Batty father didn't even meet great-grandmother yet, and he's already offended her? Looks like he won't be able to get in through the door at this rate. A humph. Chief Wu Wei makes several coughs, hoping his wife would introduce himself. Unfortunately for the desperate grandfather, Jun Tian, you could care less what her husband wanted at the moment, focusing on the kid entirely. "This one here isn't any good either. You mustn't pay attention to him, lest he sells you away." Nodding in befuddled confusion. "Okay, great-grandmother." In that second, the chief could only be called distraught. "I know I'm wrong already. Why do they all still think I'm going to give my own loved ones to that whatever goddess?" Yinner, although Yinfeng, father, held mixed feelings about the one who abducted his daughter, mostly anger. He's finding this cuddly little thing quite likable despite not knowing the exact reason. Therefore, his demeanor became very awkward after turning to Bai Yan for help due to being afraid of harming the kid. "Son, come here." Beckoning her boy over with a wave, the mother was all smiles as she spoke. "This here is your grandfather, my father. Hurry and go to his side and greet him." "Grandpa," sparkling in his eyes like the starry stars of the night sky. The kid didn't have as much worry as the adults and completely went in for a full armed hug around the man's waist. "Grandpa, I finally have a grandfather. Now no one will try to sell me again using that title." Startled and confused by the strange form of language, the man hurries to ask, "What's going on? Why would anyone try to sell you?" After Mother's adopted mother passed away, the adopted father repeatedly picked on her. Not only did they try to sell Mother to some dirty old man, they also tried to use the claim, as our elders, to try to sell me to the flower brothel. Thankfully, the establishment belonged to Mother, so the bad people couldn't succeed in their schemes. It's unsure if it's intentional or unintentional, but when explaining the background story, Bai Xiaochen would on occasion sneak a peek at the chief who was listening in on everything. But who was the boy trying to kid? He's definitely doing it on purpose. That's right, in Bai Xiaoqin's view, it's all these people from the Misty Fairy House who caused everything as the source. Grandmother, Bai Ning, wouldn't be missing. Bai Yin wouldn't have had to endure all those years of suffering at the adopted family's home. Nor would his grandfather here lose his sanity for decades. So, as the good son that he was, it's only normal for the child to get some payback now that the occasion has arrived. Issue was, he immediately regretted the plan after seeing the horrified expression on his grandfather's face. Oh crap, Grandpa is innocent. He knew nothing and even lost his mind for decades. What to do? I'm messed up. Wu Wei. Jun Tianyu directly points her accusing finger at her own husband. This is all your fault. If you hadn't been so cowardly and listened to me, then none of those things would have happened. So what if that goddess is powerful? The fact that she can only send her clone over here means she's unable to come to our world. But you don't mess with the father-in-law. 3. Absolutely livid in her eyes now. The madam lashes out without a care for anyone. I'm warning you this now. If you try again to shatter our family because of those old bastards, then I'm going to divorce you. Chief Wu Wei could be quite stubborn at times, but even he knows there's no room for wiggle at this stage. Sighing helplessly, I won't make that mistake again, wife. Please calm down. You better not. Just thinking about the grievances her own grandchild and great-grandson had to endure was enough to send Jun Tianyu clawing at her own soul in frustration. They're one of the most prestigious families in this world, yet her own descendants are being picked on and even almost sold to a brothel. There's no way this madam could let things slide if not for the fact that the ones responsible had all been dealt with already. It was then at this moment a familiar presence had caught Bai Yan's senses. Arching her brow, the woman had wanted to slide step to one side in order to avoid the impending grab, only to miserably and fall right into the man's arm. Yin Yan, are you still angry? Like usual, his tone sounded overbearing yet soft and tender. Let go. Annoyed in her face. If you don't let go, then I will never forgive you. Perhaps it's the guilt plaguing his heart, but Di Tsang didn't use forceful means and obediently loosened his grip. Yinner, this is Yin Feng, father, slightly wrinkles his temple as he carefully examined this newly arrived individual who's already getting all intimate with his daughter. He had to admit, though, Di Tsang was the most attractive male he's ever met in his life. Even the word peerless could not be used to describe that contour. Just that. There's a very dangerous feeling coming out of that presence, like a demon straight out of hell. Someone I don't want to see. Pulling at her son's hand, Bai Yin forces a smile despite her annoyance. Father, me and Xiaochen will go rest first. We're tired after moving around so much today. Can you keep him away from us? I don't want to see him. That's what you get for deceiving me. She huffs inwardly, still very much pissed at the deception. Meanwhile, on the other end, Di Tsang was just about to make a move at the man who's supposed to block himself from tagging along. However, the way his wife addressed man had instantly deflated his momentum in the next and changed it into the type only found between inter-family relationships. Father-in-law, I am Yin Yan's husband, Xiaoqin's father. Showing the most stupid grin, Di Tsang only wants to please like a dog wagging his tail. Yin Feng didn't get all warm and friendly, though, at the nice picture. Picking up the nearest broom, the recently healed patient didn't think twice and started whacking down the instrument at the great demon lord. And due to the suddenness of the attack, plus who it's coming from, Di Tsang actually just stood there and took it. Of course, dodging a simple stick with straws at the end was simple, but that's his father-in-law. So, the attack landed and made a series of almost comedic smacks. Father-in-law, is there some kind of misunderstanding between us? Misunderstanding. Yin Feng snickered and sneered at that silly question. Oh, there is no misunderstanding at all. The fact that my daughter is unwilling to see you says it all. What's more, if it weren't for you, then would my grandson be hurt? And don't call me father-in-law. I don't have a son. Making a bittersweet smile, Di Tsang could not refute any of those claims and oddly found refuge in the fact that he's not being directly called out as the one who hurt his own child, only the main cause in the whole case. For the others who knew of this great demon lord's identity and the terrible power he wields, aka the elders of the Holy Land and by Chongfeng, these people were literally gawking their eyes out at the audacity portrayed by the crazy man with the broom. Don't mess with the father-in-law, for Qiu Shu Rong III hurries to wipe the cold sweat from his own forehead. He still hasn't forgotten the day he and his brothers joined forces to fight this demon lord, and that was under the circumstance that the man's holding back. Father-in-law, I won't make excuses. The fault is mine because I didn't remove all of the negative factors and produced a bunch of stupid subordinates. That's right. If it wasn't for Fire Plume being so stupid and being deceived, would any of this have happened? When we return to the demon realm, I will definitely let Yin Yin dispose of that fool. Di Song, what the hell is this all about? Bai Chong Feng wrinkles his brow. If the truth is as Qiu Shu Rong and them says, that Di Song harmed Xiachen, then there's no way Yinner would let things be. She would have fought him to the end right then and there instead of having someone block him. There must be some kind of misunderstanding between them. Halting his broom's sweeping action, Yun Feng shows a frown after hearing that. Out of consideration for Lord Bai's sake, I will give you one chance to explain. It wasn't easy for this father to regain his daughter. Of course he would treat Bai Yin as his most cherished treasure. Pursing those bloodishly red lips, Di Song went into great detail for the whole story without reservation. Of course, the little fact about him being from the demon realm has been omitted, otherwise he'd be shooed out of the place in the next second. Where's that slut Qing Shui now? Jun Tianyu, wife, demands. Due to how insanely angry and annoyed this madam was, she's been trembling all over for a while now. If I find out where that slut is, then I will tear her to pieces. It's bad enough that she had someone impersonate my granddaughter's husband. She also had someone hunt them down and harm Xiachen. Such an abominable woman deserves nothing less than pure torture and death. She is already dead, but I did keep her soul behind so that Yin Yin can dispose of her once we go home. Father-in-law, please give me another chance. I won't let my wife be harmed again. Slightly improved in his expression, the promise was candy to Yun Feng's ear. And how do you guarantee that? Next time, I will remove any woman at the budding stage before they can make a move. That's regardless of them actually committing a fault, because I won't give them the opportunity. The same kind pain was something Di Song refuses to experience a second time, and he most certainly doesn't want to lose her. Therefore, even if it means he would have to topple the world and carry a bad name for himself, he won't regret it. Humph! Yun Feng coldly huffs a grunt. I hope you can do what you say. Also, my daughter doesn't want to see you, so you're not to disturb her during these coming days. An excited light flicker within Di Song's eye. Father-in-law, are you agreeing to let me stay? I didn't agree, but if you're staying, then I can't stop you. Dumping the broomstick down, Yun Feng waltzed away and left only those words behind. For the madam, though, the woman was rather fond of her new grandson-in-law. In her view, the pair looked gorgeous together and was a match made in heaven. Your father-in-law is only keeping a tough face. Plus you let Xiachen get hurt before, so he's still grumpy about that. After a period, he will lose the attitude, so don't worry. Casting a glance to the servants nearby, the madam was smiling right up to her eyes. Come on, hurry and go prepare a room for Sir Tsang here. I think the one next to Immerse is quite good. We can temporarily keep him there. Don't mess with the father-in-law, 5. Are you sure it's okay to help Di Song like this? Wouldn't Yinner be unhappy if she finds out? Chief Wu Wei murmurs this complaint to himself, not wanting others to hear him. Of course, only Jun Tianyu would have the courage to help her grandson-in-law, mainly due to the fact that Bai Yin wouldn't really be angry with this madam. For the husband, though, he most definitely wouldn't dare. The man's lost all form of respect and status among his family members at this point. Chief, Elder Zhongnan, older, seems to have thought of something. Yinner asked me and my brother for a favor before. She wanted to locate a little girl. Perhaps if you can help her solve this issue, then she might just forgive your faults. Going bright in the face, the chief swings around with hope in those eyes. Really? Hurry and give me a portrait. I will send everyone out to search. Exhaling a short breath, Zhongnan was glad his suggestion was accepted. Truth was he already had some clues after days of investigating. Now, this was the perfect opportunity to leave a good impression on the main house. Back over at Yan's end, she and her son had been led into the prepared room by the maid. In there, the first thing the woman did was to sit down at the desk where the writing tools were arranged and listed out a series of herbs she wanted. Take this note to my father and have him bring me the items I listed. With the support of the Misty Fairy House at her back, it's only normal for Bai Yin to use this card to her advantage in gathering the necessary ingredients. Xing Yi's Dragoness. Injury has been delayed for far too long, so postponing the treatment would warrant nothing but bad outcomes. Yes, milady. Giving a respectful bow of her head, the maid promptly left for the outside. Mother. Alone now, Bai Xiaochen didn't waste any time to climb atop of those seated legs to take his rightful place among the most precious woman in his life. I want to sleep with Mother today. That smile carrying only joy and a naive innocence found among the young. Winding his arms around that chest, the kid throws his entire head into those bountiful mounds and snuggled into them without a care for the world. Mother is the best, so warm and soft, I never want to leave Mother's side ever again. Son, I'm afraid we'll have to stay for a while longer in order to find Dragoni. Only then can we leave. Caressing her boy's head, who's still firmly tugged against her own, she calmly explains her plan. Giving a clever nod, I will listen to Mother, but are we really going to ignore Batty Father while we're here? She went stiff at that last bit. Not answering right away, she pulls him up to face level to meet her son's eye. Aren't you angry that he took advantage of you? The kid shakes his head. No, I'm not anymore, though I'm still sad at being used. Batty Father loves Mother, so I can ignore his faults, and, lowering his head like he's deciding how to properly explain, Batty Father is injured because of me. Twitching so slightly, Bai Yan's face definitely got a little white there. What happened? How could he have gotten hurt? Who has the power to harm your father? No, it's that someone injured Batty Father. Rather, he injured himself, because he was helping me. He said that mysterious force inside my body was trying to take over, so he used his powers to forcibly stop it. As a consequence, he's now heavily injured. Showing a teary face, Bai Xiaochen tugs at his mother's sleeve like he's pleading for his old man. I hated Batty Father before, mainly because he bullied you and kept leaving me behind. But after seeing how far he's willing to go for Mother, I can tolerate the other bad things he's done. Can you forgive me as well? Almost laughing at her son's demeanor, Bai Yin places him down to her own lap and flickered a finger at that temple. You shouldn't worry about the matters between me and your father. You have your own troubles to worry about. Don't you? Don't mess with the father-in-law. 6. Mother, you are my most important person. If Batty Father bullies you in the future, then I will definitely hurt him. Brandishing claws that was his tiny little hand, Bai Xiaochen attempts to make a fearsome display of ferociousness only to fail miserably. Chuckling at the boy's downright adorable appearance, Bai Yin hurries to pull him in for a tight embrace and a peck on the cheek. To this mother, she now knows there are far too many shortcomings on her end and must remedied lest she allow the same danger to befall themselves again. So what if I can claim the throne in this mortal world? There's still the celestial realm and the demon realm. Son, I won't let anyone hurt you again. Not ever. Tightening her grip at the last word, Bai Yan's murmuring voice was firm and convicted. But as usual, the kid did the darnest thing and countered with a vow of his own. I'm a man, so I shouldn't be protected by Mother. I will protect you instead. Hands up and waving around, this act would bring delight to any adult who saw it. Then just when Bai Yin wanted to give another series of smooches on her own boy, caused by the funny display, the maid from earlier had barged in from out of the blue. Slightly frowning at the interruption. What happened? Miss, this is not good. The maid borders on the line of tears in her frantic appearance. Mujin had secretly informed the goddess of your existence prior to coming to make trouble, so now that person is demanding your presence at the main altar. Please, milady, you must hide while the chief stalls for time. Even though Jun Tian you mentioned before that this goddess couldn't bring her true body into this world, being safe than sorry was still the better option. Goddess? Caressing her chin, Bai Yin definitely had other plans in mind than a flea. Are you talking about the one who has an eye for my father? She's the culprit who caused my parents' separation. Am I correct? Growing urgent. Miss, the chief said you mustn't go at all cost. Not only is that goddess extremely powerful, I also heard she's the love interest of the demon lord and celestial lord. Even if her real body can't come to our world, there will be plenty willing to do the deed in her stead. For those in the secular world, it's impossible to believe the existence of divine beings, let alone believe in the existence of the demon realm. However, since the Misty Fairy House was one of the three major powers out there, it's not strange for them to know of other realms. At the same time, Deetsong had been eavesdropping on the entire conversation from the outside when he overheard this accursed statement. Originally, he had only wanted to come find his wife to make another attempt at pleading his case. But now he's completely dark in the face after hearing the bit about him having another lover, or more correctly, an affair. What if Yin Yang gets the wrong idea and believes this nonsense? Getting urgently anxious, he couldn't stand back anymore and rushed inside to pull that woman into his arms. Using a low and raspy voice, "You must believe in me. I don't know who that goddess is. In this life, I only have you in my heart and no other woman." First glancing down at that possessive hand, then up to the man's desperate face, she smiled. "I know." Huh. She knows? Only then did the tenseness in the heart subside from the demon lord's body. However, that soon changed to an unbridled fury. Damn it! I just solved the snake girl fiasco, and now comes another who wants to frame me? The flaunting goddess, one. Standing on the altar, the egotistic goddess sweeps her gaze across the yard only to land solely on the two individuals who refuses to kneel. What is the meaning of this, Chief Wu Wei? Why are you and your wife not kneeling in my presence? She says this with a frosty tone. Slightly uncomfortable, the chief had out of habit wanted to explain themselves only to remember his wife's gradually darkening face. Immediately, he puts on a strong front. "Goddess, what is the reasoning for your visit?" Snorting at the question. "You should know better than anyone on why I'm here. Back then you clearly told me Yin Feng is unable to leave with me because he's seriously ill. To think you people would have the audacity to deceive me and even allowed my man to breed with another woman and produced a bastard child?" Jun Tianyu's gaze promptly narrowed into a slit. "Yin Feng and Bai Ning's relationship is with my consent, and Yinner is also my Misty Fairy House's genuine young lady. Which of this is wrong and an affair? Or is it because you say so that it is?" Bai Ning? The goddess slightly frowns. Why does the name sound so familiar? But since the deceitful maid couldn't think of where she's heard of this, she figured it's of no importance. Sneering, her voice got all snobby like an entitled bitch. "I am talking to the Misty Fairy House's chief. When did the likes of you get to speak? Chief Wu Wei, you should really discipline your own woman. Such arrogance will only mean death in the celestial realm." The man's expression greatly changed. First it was pink, then green, until it became a bluish red. He may be at times stubborn, but he would never allow anyone to insult his wife. That's a taboo he won't let anyone cross. No matter how arrogant my wife is, she can't be any more arrogant than you. Instead of staying in the celestial realm like you should, you decide to come to the lower realms and make trouble for us mortals? I'm telling you now, Yinner is my granddaughter, and Bai Ning is my daughter-in-law. This time, none of us will bow down to you. The madam was honestly surprised by her husband's courage to defend the family. After all, this man did cower for so many years and hadn't shown much of a spine lately. Outrageous! The maid goddess made it sound like they committed a heinous crime or something in the way she screamed. Chief Wu Wei, the only reason you all are so committed to your cultivations is in hope of one day ascending to the celestial realm, are you not? Now that you've offended me, I can have thousands of ways to keep you all here in the human world. The man grew slightly white at the threat, but he understands that the only way to shelter his son was to give up the path to godhood. That's right, even if he loses the path to the celestial realm, he won't regret his decision today and commit the same mistake years back. Chief, the elders who heard this, on the other hand, didn't share the same conviction. Many were starting to sway in their demeanor, and one was openly speaking up in objection. This goddess is a highly influential individual in the upper realm. If we offend her, then we might offend the demon lord and celestial lord as well. You must rethink your decision." Only then did the mood lighten up a bit in the maid goddess's face. Curling those lips into a smirk, she eyes the elder with an appreciative look. "It looks like not all in this misty fairy house is as foolish and stupid as this man and wife. I'm a sensible person, so my request isn't high. So long as you get me my Yun phone now and kill that slut called by Yin, then I will give you all a chance to pledge loyalty to me." Cocking her chin proudly like a flaunting peacock, this woman, who is nothing more than a maid in the celestial realm, made it sound like it's their great honor to serve. The flaunting goddess, too. In a raging fit, Jun Tianyu directly points that accusing finger in the direction of the goddess's face. Due to this, none were able to react in time to stop her or say anything to deflate the situation for that matter. "Are you crazy?" The maid goddess stammers this out like a person choking on a frog. "Yes, this woman must be crazy. Otherwise, why would she dare to use such harsh tones towards me?" "Wife!" Exclaiming in great fright, Chief Wu Wei hurries to grab the madam's shoulder in order to stop her from doing anything rash. "Calm down first. Believe in me. I won't let anyone hurt our son again." "Move!" Pushing away that hand in a fit, the madam had fire and madness in her eyes and voice. "She's right. I am crazy, and it's you all who drove me into this. Wu Wei, if you still care for us as a family, then you will tell this woman off right this instant. I will never let her harm my children again." It was not easy for this madam to calm down her anxious heart earlier, now to be provoked again due to those impetuous words of someone wishing harm. It's only normal for her to lose all level of restraint. "No one can force my son or hurt my granddaughter anymore. I won't let the tragedy from back then repeat itself." All bitter in his face, Chief Wu Wei knew what must be done. "I have decided. There will be no harm coming to my granddaughter, nor will anyone force my son into anything. Goddess, you can leave now." "Chief," butting in from the crowd, was a green-robed elder. "Do you know what your decision means? Are you going to abandon the Misty Fairy House and all of us?" The old man's word did not provoke a reaction from the chief himself. Rather, it's Jun Tianyu who snapped a searing glare in return. It couldn't be helped. She remembers it clearly still. Years ago, it was Mujin and this blasted old fart who made the biggest commotion about giving her son away to this goddess. New and old hatred combined, it's time for some deadly payback. Pushing her husband aside, she pounced at the target. "I'm going to kill you today. Whoever wants to tear my family apart again will face my ire." Frenzy in those eyes, the madam threw punches and kicks at every turn that she could. To be clear, this was no longer a human being. It's a mad beast cornered and desperate to save her own children. For the other elders present, they're still busy taking in the shock of this picture. As a result, none were able to move in to stop the assault. Ho-ho, Fei Feiyang, Green Robe Elder. Yinner is not only the young lady of our Misty Fairy house, she's also the granddaughter of Lord Bai from the Medicine Sect. And what do you know, she's also the disciple of the 3 senior elders of the Holy Land. Do you still think you can do as you please with her? Seriously, you think too highly of yourself. Elder Zhongnan snickers with contempt at his peer. Poof! Blurting out a mouthful of blood after receiving another final punch to his chest, the old man in green makes a resentful look over to the one mocking himself. So what if her background is strong? Can she be compared to the goddess here? Don't forget, the goddess isn't only a person from the celestial realm. She's also someone with the backing of the demon lord and celestial lord. Even if you don't care about yourself, Zhongnan, you should at least care about the Misty Fairy House and all those who live here. That's right, I'm only doing this for the sake of everyone else. If there's any fault, then it's these idiotic fools. Tianyu, seeing his wife's about to take a second swing at the old man again, Chief Wu Wei decides it's time he stepped in. Showing an obvious frown, Fei Feiyang, you can forget about interfering with my decision anymore. My Misty Fairy House can no longer accommodate you. So, from this point forward, you are no longer a member here. The flaunting goddess, 3. Chief, that's enough. Just when Fei Feiyang wanted to question the man again, A loud, indiscreet voice cuts in. You leaving the Misty Fairy House is not a problem. I will give you a chance to enter the celestial realm. Originally, the beaten old man was looking grim on the face over what's happening to himself, but at this sudden turn of events, he's now brimming with excitement. As they all know it, the only way to advance into the higher realms was to cultivate one's own power until they reached godhood, the other being granted permission by some major faction up there. For the first method, making a breakthrough to that level hasn't been done in over 1,000 years here, according to known documents. It's also the main reason why Chief Wu Wei would be so adamant about offending this fake goddess. The man wanted to go through a back channel and reach a new height. For a time there, aside from the husband and wife, plus the Zhong brothers, everyone else were showing looks of envy at Fei Feiyang. If they had known by sticking to the goddess's side would earn them a path to the celestial realm, then they would rather abandon their own status and pursue the same path. Goddess, I have something to report. Ignoring the murderous gaze coming from the madam, Fei Feiyang cheerfully announces, You may not know this yet, but Yin Feng have already been cured prior to your arrival. It was the chief who stopped us from informing you. In addition, he had secretly sent someone to inform that by Yin about your arrival. He wants his granddaughter to flee, so you must act quick. The maid goddess turned dark upon this revelation. Curse these people. How dare they keep such important secrets from me? Also, that Bayan has a son. The boy's exceptionally adorable and cute. I'm sure once he's all grown up, he would be one of a kind in terms of handsomeness. Oh, arching her brow. In that case, I will take in that wild child son as well. Though I'm not fond of mere child, but I'm willing to wait a decade or two for him to grow up. After all, everything in this Misty Fairy house belongs to me, right down to the grass and roots. This includes the people. That's right, since that child is a member of this place, then they're all mine by right. They would never dare to defy my orders. Now Jun Tianyu's expression had gone from ugly to downright seething. The only factor holding this madam back was the fortunate knowledge of her own granddaughter and great-grandson having already left thanks to their message. However, that momentary relief soon changed to nervous mayhem at the sight of the three familiar figures slowly strolling over from afar. Bayan had on her iconic rosy red dress. Match that with her amazing contour. It's a true wonder how nature could be so unfair. Then there's the boy she's holding hands with. Cuddly and cute. No one looking at this child could say he's not lovable. Heck, it's difficult for most not to just run over there and give him a hearty hug. Now that leaves only the third person, Song. Red in his lips, that seductive face should have been the main draw for the goddess here. Yet it wasn't because she's focused on someone else. The flaunting goddess, for Bayan. Now, this fake finally understood where the name came from and why it's so familiar. No way. Bai Ning is not a person of this world, nor can she possibly have a connection with the Misty Fairy house. All this is just a coincidence, it must be. Perhaps it's the comforting words she kept muttering to herself. But that original pale complexion had returned to normal. Inhaling deeply, the goddess gazes down at the coming trio. So you are Yin Feng's daughter? Not caring to answer, Bayan directly bypasses everyone and came before her own grandmother. Smiling, Grandma, are you all right? All tied inside. Jun Tian, you didn't know whether to be happy or angry at the girl's presence. You should not have come. Those who need to come will eventually come anyways. Swinging around with an undiscernible smile. So it's you who caused my parents to separate and my mother's disappearance? Huffing at the accusation. Me fancying Yun Feng is his fortune. If he's unwilling to accept my goodwill, then it's his fault, so don't blame me. Isn't that right, Fei Feiyang? For the traitorous old man, anything this fake goddess says now would be right, even if to the sane human the argument was ridiculous and unjust. Your Grace's word is right. The fact that the young lord can be fancied by you is his honor. Turning himself to face the one who got himself expelled from the Misty Fairy house, there's no warmth in this old man's face. Miss Bai, I'm afraid you still don't know about the identity of the goddess, am I right? Pricking her brow at that, Bayan was rather amused and wanted a toy with this old fella. There's no harm done. I heard she's the love interest of the Demon Lord and Celestial Lord. Plus, she's also the mistress of the four sacred beasts. Am I correct? Deetsong wanted to scream in protest. What does this have to do with me? Why does everyone want to frame me? The old man, on the other hand, was rather taken aback by the quick reply, though. If she knows, then why did she come? Isn't she afraid of being killed when the goddess goes into a fit? Yin Yin, I'm really innocent. I don't know who she is. Decan urgently explains himself, afraid his wife would misunderstand and turn what little chance he has left into a big fat zero. For a while their nun were speaking around the altar. Their gazes are now fully turned to the seductive man in question and unsure what the great demon lord was speaking since they don't know his true identity. You be quiet. Shooting a stare over to her husband, Bai Yin viciously shuts him up. You say you are the mistress of the four sacred beasts? Then I like to know, where are they? Pressing down the unease inside, the goddess forcibly put on a mocking snicker. My sacred beasts aren't for the likes of you to see. Nothing but an ant. Who do you think you are? Is that so? Then I will take the liberty to show my azure dragon instead. Turning sharp in the eyes, Bai Yin places 2 fingers up to her lips and blew hard, allowing the whistling sound to reach far into the sky and into everyone's ear. Almost instantly, the clouds began to dark, and rumbling noises were afoot. None of these people present were able to utter a single word at this phenomenon, because that rumbling roar of a dragon mixed with the booming thunder strikes were nerve-wracking. But being frightened was one thing, being able to see the actual body of Tsing Yi's true form as another. Its massive, literally view covering with her outstretched body. For those on the weaker end of the scale, many had gone to their knees by this point. It's simply too overwhelming, like her very presence was enough to warrant the worship of these mortals. The flaunting goddess, 5, emeraldly jade as its body color, the aura which surrounds itself shined with light to indicate the good omen. These were all of the typical depictions from legends of old regarding the great azure dragon. And most importantly, they all have a powerful urge to grovel and bow before this creature. Very good sign of a great being. This is it. That's exactly as the old scriptures describe the azure dragon. But what is it doing here? Isn't the sacred beast supposed to be in the celestial realm? One of the groveling individuals mindless raises the dilemma he had. What do you mean by that? Bai Yin asks with a darkened expression. Yin Yin, the 4 sacred beasts are from the demon realm. There's no mistake in that information you got. However, after losing the war years ago, they were changed to be known as the 4 sacred beasts of the celestial realm because those hypocrites skewed the history books to their liking. Deetsong coldly explains, clearly annoyed by the warped history. Twitching in her mouth, Bai Yin has had to hand it to those so-called celestials. They're really shameless, even worse than Mujin. Taking advantage of the fact that the demon realm couldn't communicate with the outer world, they deliberately changed the pride of their enemies into their own to suit their needs. Coiling her body into a manageable posture, Tsing Yi makes a frowning face at the people below herself. Who are you? Why are you pretending to be my mistress? At this moment, the goddess's face was looking uglier than ever. First from green to white, then white to green, all forms of colors could be found due to being called out. So, just because you're saying I'm an impersonator than I am, then I like to counter you with my own question. A measly little dragon like you dares to impersonate my great azure dragon? Impersonate? Everyone was startled by the claim. In their view, this dragon fitted the ideal image of the azure dragon. Even the horns on the forehead looked exactly the same as the pictures. Compared to the indecision of everyone else, Jun Tian Yu was more willing to believe her own granddaughter. This way it would prove the goddess was a fake and had been deceiving them all. Such an outcome was more to the madam's taste. Ho ho! Issuing a sarcastic laugh, Tsing Yu's gaze narrows into a slit of contempt. So you saying I'm not Azure Dragon is enough? Where's your evidence? First of all, everyone knows that General Azure Dragon is a man, yet you're a female, and you still call yourself Azure Dragon? Without refute, Tsing Yi was a girl, and that could be discerned through the voice, so there's no denying this fact. However, only silence followed the goddess's words because none of the mortals here knew the facts, only a picture passed down from ancient times. Furthermore, Azure Dragon has passed away, protecting me many years ago. Such loyalty and courage. Even if I can't protect him, I won't let some upstart stroll around blemishing his name. The fake goddess was really starting to pile it up thick there. Now, even this foolish lady was starting to really think she's the mistress of the four sacred beasts and forgot her own lies. As the old say goes, the more you say, the more you would believe it. Mother, batty father, I've seen a lot of shameless people before, but this one really takes the cake. I never seen someone can be so thick-skinned to such a degree. It was then the youthful voice of Bai Xiachen decides to cut in, leaving everyone turning their attention over to the boy. This child sure has balls. How can he say such words in front of the goddess? Many of them thought, Xiachen, let your old man here handle this matter. Roughing up his boy's hair in the process, Ditsong now has his deathly glare focused in on the one responsible for framing himself. I really like to know, when did I ever try to woo you? Unleashing an oppressive might that sent the ground crackling with pain, it's as if the air itself was screaming at the twisting energy that now seeps out of the man's body. Still oblivious to her own impending doom, the fake goddess makes a faint frown. What does he mean by that? The flaunting goddess, 6. You impersonated yourself as the mistress of the four sacred beasts, then framed me afterwards. Based on these points alone is enough to make me not let you off. Boom! As a result of that increasingly dangerous pressure, the goddess's initial surprised look soon changed to amazement. No, this can't be. The people of this world are all garbage. How can this man threaten me with his pressure alone? Jun Tianyu and the rest were also looking over in Ditsong's way. Now they know the earlier bout with the broom was nothing more than this man holding back. Otherwise, considering that strength and level of pressure, Yin Feng would have been squashed with a single finger. Are you mistaken about something? The goddess bites her lower lips, rattled by the man's ominous air. I am indeed the mistress of the four sacred beasts. There's no doubt about that. Also, I never mentioned anything about you trying to woo me. I'm talking about the Demon Lord and Celestial Lord. The main reason why this blasted maid from the celestial realm would dare to be so arrogant and pompous while coming to the Misty Fairy house was because none could threaten herself. But this man, though, he's different. Ignoring the explaining words that's being repeatedly shoved in his face, Ditsong suddenly swept his gaze towards the crowd. Is my father-in-law around? Womf. The one to answer was Chief Wu Wei, his voice awkward. I knocked him out earlier because I was afraid he would rush over here after finding the goddess has come. He won't be able to wake up for a while. That's good. Ditsong promptly heaved a huge sigh of relief. Regarding the father-in-law he just discovered, this great demon lord was truly afraid of him. Ignoring the fact that he's never been broomed in his entire existence, he's also unable to retaliate because the human was his wife's father. If he did, Bai Yin would never let him off, and that's something he would never want to put to the test. What do you intend to do? Bai Yin asks with a faint frown. Showing an evil grin, Ditsong wraps his arms around that soft waist to get all intimate. I want the world to know you are my wife and the only one fit to be my queen. Because of how close their faces were to one another, plus he had deliberately lowered his voice into a whisper, only the two were able to hear their conversation and no other. Slightly blushing at the embarrassing proclamation, Bai Yin decides to push that naughty hand away out of reflex. Sadly, as usual, it only had the counter effect and made it tighter. For the fake goddess who's been watching this unfold before her very eyes, the woman naturally would be furious. Sadly for her, the image of the man's terrible pressure instantly stuffed any resentment she had back into that throat. Also, it was at this moment when a series of loud, clamoring birds pulled the attention of those below. They're shocked, astounded even by the countless demon beasts quickly filling up the sky. What's going on here? Where did this many demon birds come from? Even if all of the demon beasts living within the Misty Fairy house wouldn't be able to match that number. What do these things intend to do? Did the goddess summon them? That must be it. The demon lord must have heard about the goddess facing grievance here. That's why the person sent his servants to our home. Then before the initial shock of this overwhelming scene could be processed by the crowd, another series of panting and huffing could be heard from the rear. "Chief, madam, things are not good, not good," the person exclaims after overexerting themselves in order to run over. "Welcome, Committee 1. The chief could literally hear the stone drop in his heart. All tense in his face. Did something else happen? Or is Bai Chong Feng and the other two trying to make trouble for me again? Chief, there's a lot of demon beasts outside. They're stampeding over here, and the other defenders are quickly losing ground. I'm here to request for aid." Gripped with fear, the guard that rushed over in haste shivers uncontrollably at remembering what he saw. What about Bai Chong Feng and the other two old fellas? Ghastly white by this point, Chief Wu Wei snaps the question with sweat pouring down his side. They're watching from the sidelines. Watching from the sidelines? All dark in the face, Chief Wu Wei didn't know what to make of this. How can they still have the leisure to watch at a time like this? They must be holding a grudge against me for not bringing them along to meet this goddess. Otherwise, why else would they stand idly by in times like this? But can they blame me? With their tempers, they would have lashed out at first contact. The husband had planned to go with his wife in hand to help, but when the corner of his eye caught a glance of the swirling flock in the sky, his steps stopped and couldn't move. If I leave now, then what about those flying demon beasts up there? But the struggling indecision was not warranted because the massive dust cloud coming over from afar had made it for him. In his urgency, the man pulls the wife behind his back for protection against the demon horde led by a ferocious brown tiger. At first, the humans didn't find anything wrong with this image. After all, the tiger definitely gave off the strongest impression with its massive body and threatening fangs. But none could have expected the high-spirited fox riding along the creature's back and waving its paws like a commanding general. As residences of the human world, the people here naturally didn't know what a fox represented among the demon race. However, the goddess did here despite her lowly standing among her peers. Power, nobility, these were just some of the words commonly paired with the fox family. So, when seeing it's a fox who's leading the great demon army over here, the goddess had completely shut down, unable to think of a single thing due to her blank state. "Big brother," Zhongbei elbows his brother to ask, "Do you see that fox there? Isn't it very similar to the one Yenner had with her?" "Yes, it's very similar, except that this fox is obviously a little bigger than her pet. I speculate it's not the same fox." Just as the two brothers were fussing over their astonishment, the fox in question had jumped off the tiger's back and landed her sight onto Bai Yan's presence with those beautiful big eyes. In an instant, that young body, tremored with excitement, followed up by the howling yelp of joy as that fox threw herself at the woman. Ditsong was absolutely dark in the face over this scene. He would never allow her own sister to do as she pleases, but was taken off guard by the suddenness of it all. Woo! The crying was already bad enough at first. It only got worse after she saw Bai Xiaoqin's presence. Now Di Xiao Wan, demon princess, was downright sobbing like a child. Back over in the watching crowd, everyone had fallen silent at this scene, with one exception being Fei Feiyang. The green-robed senior looked uglier than someone accidentally eating a fly, because this twist of event couldn't be good for him and his future. Welcome, Committee 2. These demon beasts are here for her, and not the goddess? Why is this happening? Shook to her core, the fake goddess stares intently at Bai Yan's face like she's not willing to accept reality. She knows the Fox clan. Moreover, this fox can command so many demon beasts. That means the blasted thing status is not ordinary. Heavily biting her lower lip, the fake goddess needs to take in a huge, deep breath in order to calm her shaken self. Bai Yan. But before she could finish that question, a massive unison of voices instantly cuts her off. Your servants are here to greet the king, queen, and little prince. Due to the vast number of creatures being present for this reception, it had a deafening effect on those who weren't prepared and caused quite the painful ring in the ear. Your servants are here to greet the king, queen, and little prince, and to escort your highnesses back to the demon realm. A second receiving was cried out after getting no response from Bai Yan after the first. Showing a perplexed face, the woman first pulled the clingy fox girl from her sleeves. Di Xiao Wan. What you all doing here? shrouded in a globe of light upon landing. What appeared from the fox's figure was now a youthful girl of exceptional beauty. Wiping away some of the tears from that pitiful-looking face, after brother left, the seal around the demon realm was also broken. So, everyone is now free to leave and come as they please. In order to show our sincerity, all of us decided to up and come in person to bring you back. Sister-in-law, can you forgive my brother, please? Bayan, on the other hand, was at a loss for words. She's been trying so hard to keep her son's identity as a halfling a secret that it's overwhelming now that it's been a thrust into the open thanks to this dumbaklutz. Sister-in-law, seeing there's no response yet, the demon princess now got anxious and tugged pathetically at the woman's sleeve like a pleading child. Please forgive my brother. Otherwise he would beat me to death once we are all alone. Originally, the woman's anger had mostly been quenched after so long, but now it's blooming with heat from that comment. As if he would dare. All flabbergasted, Deetsong stood there cluelessly at his own fault. What did I do? When did I hit this girl? But the confusion soon turned into a twitching rage after seeing the mischievous grin from his own sister. Roaring out in retaliation, Di Xiaowan, this stinking girl dares to pour dirty water on me in front of my wife? Look, sister-in-law, look at how mean brother is being to me. If you don't come back and protect me, then he's going to beat and hit me whenever he pleases. Hiding behind the woman now, the naughty princess snickers cheekily, knowing full well she's safe from harm. Oh, it's so nice to have shield now. Back then I was always afraid of brother because of how scary he is, but now I can just hide behind sister-in-law and do as I please. Yin Yin, you mustn't believe this girl's nonsense. Well, have I ever laid a finger on her? Deetsong's voice sounded anxious and urgent, likely afraid of any misunderstanding after coming so close to success. Sadly, Bayan's cool-looking gaze clearly told him she doesn't quite believe him. I believe you won't hit her, just... You should really stop scaring her so much. Look how frightened she's acting whenever you appear. Deetsong couldn't refute that. Ugh, now that she says it like that. Okay. I won't scare her or do anything remotely close to that. I won't let anyone hurt you or harm you either. So, please give me another chance. Di Xiaowan was absolutely gobsmacked by her brother's degrading appearance and gawked that mouth into a donut shape. Welcome, Committee 3. In the past, he would never say such kind words of love. The demon princess mutters this to herself. Watching that all-serious face, Bayan found herself also tensing up inside. Gripping her son's hand, those lips quivered emotionally as she spoke. Fine. I will give you another chance, but you must never keep anything from me again, nor can you deceive me and pretend to be hurt just to gain my sympathy. Staring dumbfoundedly at Deetsong, the demon princess looks on in anticipation. Wow, brother would fall so low as to fake his injury just to get sympathy? Is this still my tyrannical and overbearing brother? Due to the extreme excitement of being accepted again, Deetsong had completely ignored the incredulous face shown by his sister and even went as far as to remove his own son from the picture. Pulling the love of his life over. Yin Yin, thank you for this chance. I won't let you down ever again. Hoarse and rasp in his voice, the man's bloodishly red lips inadvertently curved into a brilliant smile like he's right out of a portrait. Nor will I hide anything from you. For those watching, they're absolutely stunned by the pair's cozy intimacy. They didn't know why, but not even the demon beasts present are willing to interrupt their time, only keeping this peace as long as possible by keeping silent. Finally, the one to speak up first turns out to be Bai Xiachen, the most suitable for this case, since he's immune to any form of retribution or payback. Auntie, how did you manage to find us at such perfect timing? Did Batty Father inform you and told you all to come? Sprouting those big blue eyes of his, the kid asked with the most adorable and cuddly voice ever. Wanted to run up and pinch that soft little cheek in return. Di Xiaowan had to fight her inner urge just to respond. The truth is we were here for a while already. I had wanted to come inside the city to search for you both, but brother wouldn't let us, saying the big commotion would scare away the humans. So, I was stuck outside the city hiding ourselves until I was given the signal just now. You wouldn't believe how angry I was when I learned of someone bullying you and your mother. I will show the one responsible for what it means to cross our family." Flailing her dainty hand in the air, like it would be threatening for those watching, the princess pumps it like a warning to the crowd. Smiling right up to his eyes, the kid felt so warm and happy at this aunt of his. Annie can be quite the silly dumbaklutz at times, but she is so reliable whenever it involves Mother and I. Thank goodness she's part of my family. Of course, the princess didn't know the image her own nephew had of herself, so that happy smile was all so perfect. If only she could be aware of what others thought of her, then most likely she'd be sulking right now instead of making that stupid grin. "Xiachen, come on now. Show your Annie who's the one bullying you and your mother. I will make them pay in full." "Oh," said the kid with his lip puckered into an unhappy manner. Then, turning to the woman standing at the center of the altar, he points his accusing finger directly at the person. That woman is the one. She claims to be the mistress of the 4 sacred beasts, and that my father tried to woo her, and even Mother's azure dragon is a fake. Welcome, committee, for the fake goddess was already ghostly white in hearing how these demon beasts addressed by Yin as queen, but now to learn of Di Xiao Wan's shocking identity, no words could be used to describe her fear. This girl is a princess from the demon realm, and by Yin is the queen, while her husband is the demon lord? No, it can't be. How can the king and queen of the demon realm be at a place like this? What's more, the queen is supposed to be dead for years already. How could Yun Feng's daughter suddenly take that spot? Not wanting to stay to confirm whether or not any of this are true, the fake goddess hurried to send her clone back to the celestial realm after making eye contact with Di Tsong's murderous gaze. Unfortunately, nothing happened. She's still standing there. What's going on here? She murmurs this to herself, those eyes spiraling into panic. The maid may not be all that capable, but she does have confidence in controlling her spiritual clone. Therefore, the first thought that comes to her mind was that there's a much more powerful individual around nearby, blocking her retreat. Making a difficult gulp in that throat, the fake goddess turns her attention over to Di Tsong for a second time. Instinctively, those legs started to stumble backwards in order to gain some distance. Yinner, Jun Tianyu, madam, finally came back to her senses. Gently furrowing her brow, the madam asked with an uncertain tone, "Why are these demon beasts calling you their queen?" Blinking her eyes at the inquiry, Bai Yin hurries to push the husband aside to bring her son to the forefront. "Well, it's like this. As it so happens, my husband is the king of the demon realm. So, if we want a proper answer on whether or not he's wooed this goddess over there, I think my husband is the best candidate to answer that." The demon king is her husband? All eyes eventually landed on Di Tsong's figure, their eyes filled with shock and disbelief at this sudden twist of event. The poor madam shakily stretches out her finger. "You are a demon? Like this girl, you're a fox?" At first, Di Tsong was still elated at being addressed as his wife's husband. But when he took notice to the trembling appearance of everyone present, especially Jun Tianyu's, his delight quickly changed to self-reprimand. Under normal circumstances, this great demon lord would never care about what the world thought of himself. This was absolutely true regarding the human world. However, this madam here was his wife's grandmother. Though he did take the extra care of putting into consideration of his father-in-law not being present, he apparently forgot about the rest of the family. "Wife, you mustn't scare me." Hurrying to catch his falling wife from behind, Chief Wu Wei attempts to smooth the situation with sweet swords. It's not so bad. Being fox is nothing special, and we're not exactly part of the regular world anyways. Not to mention our great-grandchild is absolutely adorable. I bet he's received the good genetics from both parents. Bai Yin was rather surprised to hear her grandfather say something like this. Grandma, after a moment of silence, she eventually decides to move forward in an attempt to comfort her grandmother as well. "Welcome, Committee 5 Great. A demon king is great. In the future, no one will be able to pick on my granddaughter again, huh?" As the madam loses herself in hysterical laughter, tears gradually began to flow down those cheeks as she held onto Di Tsong's hand like an elder facing a youngster. Towards this, the great demon king was feeling rather uncomfortable, which could be seen in the slight wrinkle in that forehead. He's never been fond of physical contact with others aside from his wife, but this was his grandmother-in-law. No matter how much he dislikes this, he must endure. Child, good child, from now on forward, Yinner will be in your hands. You mustn't let others bully or harm her. This child, she's suffered enough in this life. It's all our fault for not being there for her and giving her a stable life. Wiping the trickle of tear from her eyes, the madam locks onto the fake goddess with a resentful look. As for Yunfeng's consent, don't worry, my child. I'm his mother and Yinner grandmother. I can take charge and give the consent. No one can object to your union. Normally, this proclamation would be soul-moving in how warming it was, but to Bai Yan's ear, it was very bone-rattling and creepy. For one thing, calling Di Tsong child was wrong in every aspect of the word. Sure, this man has kept up his appearance very well, downright underserving even, but he's already a 1,000-year-old relic. Grandmother, don't worry, I won't let anyone hurt my wife again. Resting his sight on the fake goddess, a dark shadow now hovers above everyone's head like the light just got overtaken from the sky. Especially when this fake is using Yinner's identity to hurt her. Panic and shaking, the goddess splutters her response. What do you want to do? This is only my clone, so you can't kill me. And I'm a celestial lord's woman. That's right, I'm his woman. If you touch me, then he won't let you go. The celestial realm and demon realm are like fire and water, meaning there's no way for these people to collect evidence to prove my words are wrong. Besides, by the time they do find out, I'd be long gone and into hiding. Unfortunately for this fraud, though, as soon as those words were finished, a godlike laugh stretches over from the far-off horizon. Despite the tone being very clear and light, this voice was like a clapping thunder to the fake, shocking her brains and stiffening that body. How come I didn't know the celestial realm has fallen to a state where a measly little maid can take charge of things? Standing above the clouds, the man in control of the voice stands ready with his hands behind his back and gazes down at the fake goddess like she's an insignificant existence that doesn't register in his eyes. Against the third-party interference, Di Tsong didn't take this well at all. Showing a hostile smile, this demon lord confronts the person standing in the air like he's facing an arch-nemesis. For Bai Yin, who stuck in between these two, she suddenly had the illusion of them breaking out into a fight at any moment if their eyes continued to lock onto each other. But in the end, neither of the parties moved, just that their momentum had created an invisible vortex of pressure around the air, causing everyone to feel an ominous suffocation. Popping her eyes out upon recognizing who the newly arrived man was, the fake goddess now completely loses her wits, shaking all over till it's noticeable to even the clueless mortals. Seals, how can this be? How can it be him? How can the mightiest and most prestigious person of the celestial realm appear in this insignificant world? But the fraud didn't have the opportunity to cry out the man's name. Instead, she was practically paralyzed by the death glare she got in the next second. Celestial Lord. Welcome Committee 6. In actual fact, the sole reason this lowly maid could have the opportunity to meet the Celestial Lord, the great leader of the celestial realm, was because she had followed her former master to the celestial palace. But out of everyone's expectation, this lowly wench would have the unbelievable audacity of trying to seduce Chu E-God. When those in charge learned of this, the maid was promptly thrown out of the palace and was afterwards resold by her former master into a small-time family as a slave. Once the personal attendant of a noble young lord, now a servant lady in wait that gets scolded and abused at will. Such a drastic change in environment would twist any ordinary individual's mindset, and that could obviously be seen in how warped this maid's logic was and how delusional she has become over the years. Bai Yin, an imperceptible tenderness was contained within Chu E-God's voice as he spoke. I came because there's something I wanted to tell you. I did not expect to encounter a situation like this. Inhaling deeply, Bai Yin looks up to meet the man's face. You are from the celestial realm, correct? Me and the celestial realm are doomed to be on opposing ends. If I had known he is from there, then maybe... Making a bittersweet smile, she shakes her head to dismiss the what-if. I'm so silly. Even if I didn't know his background, what choice did I have back then? Forsake my son's well-being? White Tiger and Azure Dragon's death. Is it because of the people from the celestial realm? Are they the cause? Due to the fleeting memories that she's managed to regain, Yin could tell all of the enemies in those dreams are from the celestial realm. So, going from that angle, she's willing to believe her enemy lies in that place, and that reason alone meant she could never be on the same side as the one who helped her thus far. Not speaking right away, Chewy God makes a conflicted face before eventually opening up. No matter what, I won't allow others to harm you. At that, the divine man's gaze slowly locks back onto the fraud's face. Nothing but a lowly maid. How dare you the celestial realm's name to satisfy your greed? Raising a faint smirk of contempt. For what I can remember, you try to seduce the celestial lord when following your master into the palace. There, you were caught, and was then kicked out only to be resold later to become a slave. The man's words were like a heavy bomb, exploding within all those who listened. Chewy God had called out on the woman being nothing more than a maid earlier, just that everyone was far too focused on the man himself rather than to listen to what he said. Now that he's repeating it again and placed a heavy emphasis on the word maid, everyone could not longer ignore this fact. This was especially true for Fei Yang, who was previously overjoyed at being taken in by the fraud. Truly, the Elder in Green never thought it'd be possible for the one to cause so much waves within the Misty Fairy house to be nothing more than a maid. And the worst part was the secret about her seducing the Celestial Lord and failing miserable, only to be resold as a slave later on. To re-emphasize something, over the years the main reason why everyone within this place would endure the nonsense and ridiculous requests of this fraud was out of the small glimmer of hope to enter the upper realm. Now all of that has been shattered. You are just a maid and a slave at that. Taking a step backwards in horrific disbelief, Chief Wu Wei looked like he's seen death itself. Closing his pained eyes, all those events from the past flashed before himself and caused a maddening laugh to escape that mouth. Nothing but a maid, a slave. You played us all for fools all these years. Because of you, I broke up my son's happy marriage. Because of you, my wife held a grudge against me for years on end. And because of you, Yin Feng became mentally mad and was nearly lost forever. It's all because of her. It's her evilness who shattered my family. And it's because of her that caused by Chong Feng's daughter to go unaccounted for all these years. Bai Ning's a fugitive, one. Tear this goddess apart, so she will know the price of deceiving the Misty Fairy house. The elders were all furious, completely forgetting the power of those from the celestial realm. Rushing over like a mob, they instantly drowned the fraud with their punches and kicks, leaving only the painful screams for help in the air. Why? It's one thing that I couldn't retrieve my clone from this world, but why is it that I can't retaliate with my powers as well? Damn them all, damn them all. Before long, the venting frustration was over. Now instead of the egotistic and proud goddess that once stood at the altar, there's only the ragged-looking woman in green that had messed up hair and plenty of purple bruises all over. Talk about a true beating, there's hardly any good spots left on that body. The fraud herself was fuming right now. It's utterly humiliating, but what could she do? In the end, the tears could only be sucked back in and her voice shut, lest she provoke further beating. Wait a minute. Then before anyone else could take another shot at the fraud after the elders were done, Bai Yin suddenly speaks up and halted her husband's movement, showing a dangerous light in those eyes. I'm curious about something. When I showed up earlier, you acted like you knew me from somewhere for some reason. What's the deal with that? Shuddering at the inquiry, the fraud would of course be unwilling to answer since she hated her the most. I don't know what you're talking about. Perhaps you're just imagining things. Bang! A powerful force came flying over as soon as she made up that lie. Hitting in her kneecap, the fraud completely falls into a kneeling position due to the intense pain coursing through her entire existence. There's now cold sweat dripping down the side as a result. But compared to the pain she's enduring right now, though, the fake goddess was leaning more towards the fear instilled in her body by the two threatening figures present. When did I allow you to stand up to answer my wife's question? Arching a brow, Deetsong's tyrannical presence completely dominates the scene like an unbearable titan. Growing increasingly more nervous, open panic takes over the fraud's voice as she banged her head against the floor for forgiveness. I'm sorry, I lied. Earlier, I was thinking she looked very similar to a woman I knew from the Celestial Realm. A woman from the Celestial Realm? Bai Yin makes a slight frown in the face, as was everyone else for that matter, due to the odd reply. Thankfully, the next answer resolved any question they had. That woman is also called Bai Ning. Bai Ning. Bai Yin almost couldn't keep her balance at that moment when she heard the important name. Hurrying to look up to meet the fraud's face, she did not have time to ask for more details when an excited voice interrupts her thought from the rear. Bai Ning? You're talking about Bai Ning, my Ningyo? She's still alive? It's unsure when Yun Feng had awoken from his short blackout at the hands of his father, the chief, but the man's emotional voice said it all. He's absolutely astounded and overjoyed at the possibility of his wife being alive, making him all teary and sobby in the face. Father, turning to find the one man she didn't expect to show so quickly, Bai Yin made a slightly surprised face. What did you come? Yinner, did you hear that? Your mother's still alive. She's really still alive. At the beginning, when Bai Chongfeng claimed that Bai Ning was still alive, this man didn't honestly believe that saying. Sure, he has hope, but it's a slim one and could practically be blown out at the slightest news of her death. But now, there's real confirmation of the woman being alive. There's no way he could keep his excitement in check at this point. What about the Celestial Realm? As long as she lives, then I will find her one day, no matter where she is. Bai Ning's a fugitive too, finding ants gnawing at her own heart. The fake goddess huffs a snort out of jealousy. Although that Bai Ning looks similar to Bai Yin, I never said anything about them being mother and daughter. Furthermore, Bai Ning is from the Celestial Realm and not from this world. That comment instantly caused the excited man to turn a shade of white, muttering repeatedly to himself, No, that is my wife, my Ninger. She must be alive. Father, clasping onto that shaky hand, Bai Yin uses her own warmth as a mean to calm the unstable person down. Once done, she locks onto the bruised-up woman on the altar with that sharp glare. It's only a matter of time before I head off to the Celestial Realm. When I do, I will determine whether the person is my mother or not. But before that, I want to know any news regarding her there. Shrinking at that cold, hard glare, the fraud presses that lip into a thin white line. Bai Ning. She's a monster, a devil. She is a wanted criminal in the Celestial Realm. Nor will you find her even if you do go there. And even if you do locate her whereabouts, only a corpse is what awaits you. Ha ha. Yes, there's no way these people would be able to find Bai Ning. And maybe if they do, she'd be dead by then. And what if they know the Celestial Lord? There are too many rules and regulations in the Celestial Realm. Even the great Celestial Lord is not impervious to these rules, nor can he protect that Bai Ning from the law. Want it? Deetsong pricks his brow. If she really is my mother-in-law, then I don't care if she's wanted or not. I will topple the Celestial Realm before she's captured. Towards that proclamation, Chu Igad appears to be unmoved and emotionless on the surface. However, if one looked closer within the iris, they would surely notice the fluctuating pain in his mood. If I had been as strong-spirited as he was back then, perhaps I wouldn't have lost her. But I missed that chance already. Song, quivering in the heart, Bai Yin has found herself surging with emotion. Back in her previous life on Earth, her own father would rather abandon his own wife just to avoid the possibility of losing his own life. But here, this man, shameless and unreasonable at times, plus absolutely overbearing, would not hesitate to tackle even the strongest enemy. Towards this level of love, how could any woman stay unfazed? Okay, I'll join you in toppling over this Celestial Realm. With a smile as bright as the glowing sun, Bai Yin backs up her husband in the idea. The fake goddess became stupefied at the couple. Are these two crazy or something? They think they can topple the entire Celestial Realm? If it was the demon realm from 1,000 years ago, then indeed, they would have the power to confront the celestial realm. But it's been so long. Whatever advantage they held back then has been disbanded and removed. What do they intend to use to subvert those in power? The fake wanted to mock them some more, but upon remembering the terrible aura coming out of Deedsong's body, she immediately gulped and shut whatever cynical words she had away. Bai Ning committed too many crimes over the years. She also killed many people and butchered numerous powers and clans in the celestial realm. That's why there's an order for her head. No one will be able to save her now that the celestial palace has their eyes on her. Disregarding that last comment, Bai Yin starts speaking among themselves. Deedsong, how should we deal with her? Bai Ning's a fugitive. 3. Turn her into a fool? No, that would be too easy for her. A mentally damaged person could never understand the pain that's coming. What does Yin Yin usually do in these situations? I will cripple her cultivation so she can suffer till her end in the celestial realm. That place would never allow a weakling like her to have it easy. Flashing an ominous light in his eyes, Deedsong gave off a terrible aura of someone ready to commit murder. Yin Yin, let's abolish her powers. This way you won't have to dirty your hands with her filthy blood. Those in the celestial realm will do the deed on their own, considering the sort of characters that's up there. No, I don't want to be a cripple. I'm wrong. Demon King, please don't do this to me. I know my fault. Banging her head repeatedly against the cold, hard slabs of granite underneath, the bruised-up woman soon started to bleed on the forehead in her attempt to plead for mercy. It couldn't be helped. She knows very well what sort of fate awaited herself if she loses her powers. The celestial realm may sound glorious and magnificent on the surface, but it's far more competitive than this world in every regard. Anyone even slightly weaker would be gobbled up in no time. But Deedsong wasn't going to give her the chance. Before the bruised tramp could continue to ask for mercy, a powerful shot of pain had pierced in her chest, causing that face to distort with agonizing hatred. Scram! After saying that, an immense suction force promptly swings down from above, pulling the clone away, sending her off into the void. Now that everything has been cleared up, the family of 3 are once again back together. Towards this warm picture, Chewy God could only show a bittersweet smile. It looks like I am late once again. She belongs to him now. Chewy God. Only then, remembering she still hasn't finished with another matter, Bai Yin shows a somewhat embarrassed face. Earlier you said you have something to say to me? Faintly smiling. It's nothing important actually. There's no harm done in not telling you. As for Bai Ning's matter, I will keep an ear out for news related to her. Startled by the offer, Bai Yin honestly didn't want to owe this person so much favor after knowing he's from the celestial realm. However, after seeing the excited face of her own newly acquired father, those words of refusal just couldn't come out. Yin Yin, drawing his wife into his arms by the waist, Deedsong stares up at the divine-looking man in the air. The favors my wife owes you, I as her husband will pay for it. In other words, he will pay for his wife's debt, so you over there can forget about hitting on her. And, narrowing his eyes into a squint, I better move the date for besieging the celestial realm ahead of time. Just when his mind was going over the plans in his head, Deedsong's train of thought was suddenly interrupted by a blaming voice from the rear. Chief Wu Wei, I really don't know what is so valuable here that you must keep this altar away from us. If you think you can keep us away, then you better think again. Bai Ning's a fugitive for Run Yi and Xiao Shu Rong were still complaining between themselves when their eyes fell upon the divine man up in the air. Popping like they've seen a ghost, the pair gawked. Young lord, why are you here? And how did your hair turn white? Bai Chongfeng of the medicine sect was also blown away by the man's existence. He's not like the two beside himself, though. He could see this individual held powerful similarities to Chu Yifeng, but that aura and momentum varied greatly in certain aspects. Chu Yifeng, for example, was akin to a jade that's not tainted by the impurities of this world, while the one up there completely rejects the world and its occupants. Shifus, grandfather, twitching in the corner of her mouth, Bai Yin decides to step in before the misunderstanding gets out of hand. He is not Chu Yifeng. Yifeng, Ditsong didn't miss how sweet his wife was pronouncing that name. All sour inside, a gush of air starts fluttering his robe to show how upset he was. It looks like this godfather of my son's is quite extraordinary. To think she would use such a sweet voice when she's always using such cringe grandchefus. By Xiachen toddles over. You mustn't mistake him for the wrong person. He is my benefactor and not godfather. But I do miss godfather a lot. Due to how sincere Chu Yifeng has been towards this pair of mother and son over the years, the kid genuinely liked the man and was now dearly missing him due to the months of separation. And there's also the girl Chu Yi, who's been the boy's partner in crime for many mishaps at the Holy Land. Oomph, oomph. Making an awkward cough, Xiao Shu Rong attempts to save some face. This. Sir, forgive us for our mistake. You simply look too much like our young lord from home. May we know where you are from? Making a rarely seen response, Chu Yi God only uttered 2 words, Celestial Realm. Boom. The answer almost sent the 2 old fellas scrambling to the floor, and how mind-blowing it was. He's from the Celestial Realm? The divine man didn't pay any more attention to the old bones after that. Instead, he's now focused back onto the female, which brought him here in the first place. Since there's nothing happening now, I'll first take my leave. When I'm free, I will come see you again. Opening her mouth back and forth, Bai Yan's indecision had lost her the opportunity to ask because the man's presence was gone as quickly as he came. Now there's only a comfortable breeze and a plume of cloud in the air. The dazed-like state continued until the possessive nearby pulled her back to attention. What's the matter? Squinting eyes now, Ditsong nibbles at her ear like a cat. Now that you've forgiven me, does that mean you are willing to return to the demon realm? The wife shoots her man a warning glare. Doesn't he see my father is staring at him hard? How can he embarrass me in front of the whole family? We need to find little Dragoni first, then I have to go pick up little Rice. The utmost importance now was to locate that young lass. It's been some time since they've been separated, and considering the timid nature Dragoni has, it's not hard to imagine the sort of danger she's going to get herself into. I'll join you. That one phrase was enough to throw all of the man's pent-up yearning to the front. Against the affectionate gaze, not even Bai Yin could resist the deep emotions firing to her face. Therefore, a gradual yearning starts swelling from within and causes that body to react. A humph. As the father, Yin Feng was not especially fond of his daughter being groped in front of his face, making several coughs in the process. Boy, I have not agreed to my daughter marrying you. Until then, you are not to touch her. Bai Ning's a fugitive 5, though he says that the father himself honestly didn't have the energy to keep his face straight. After all, the man who swept his daughter off her feet has already made a child with her. What right does he have to just barge in on their business when he's been missing all these years? But a father's going to be a father. Forcing a stern face. Boy, I have one more thing to ask you. What does that fake goddess mean when she called you the Demon King? This question should have came out much earlier, but due to the news regarding his wife Bai Ning, the man managed to keep it till now. Grandfather. Flashing a meaningful light in those big blue eyes, Bai Xiachen throws himself into his newly acquired grandfather's arm and spoke using the most pitiful and innocent tone he could muster. Grandfather, will you abandon me because I'm a fox? Strike. Talk about using his assets to the fullest. Since the kid was at the perfect age to act cute and cuddly, therefore he's completely won over the grandpa using that childish appearance. But if there is no father, then there won't be me, your adorable grandson. Grandfather, do you not want me? Is it because I'm a fox? Ditsong absolutely loved this and shot an invisible thumbs up to his son right then and there. Now that's my boy. Reliable and scheming. He inherited all my good points. Now this speech has completely left Yin Feng in a bind. He couldn't exactly find a good excuse to keep one, well, shoving the other out, could he? Then casting his sight down to his legs that's being clung onto by the adorable kid. He was like, screw it. Of course not my precious Xiachen. How could your grandfather, I kick your father out the door? Then grandfather, are you agreeing to let my papa and mama make a little sister? All smiles there. The little steambun's face was as brilliant as the sun's glow. I've always wanted a little sister. Every time I see Wang Xiaoping and his sister playing, I would get so envious. To emphasize his wish, the kid didn't forget to reveal the hopeful look in his eyes, thus causing the man to ache so miserably inside. Oh, what a good child this one is. Clever and sensible. He deserves to have a sister. Someone come. Arrange a room for the miss and sir immediately. It must be one room, remember that. Orders taken care of, Yinfeng promptly shifted his attention over to the stupefied-looking Bai Yin. Yinner, you don't have to worry about your search efforts. I will send all of the most capable men we have out to look for the lass. During these coming days, you can rest at ease inside your bedchamber and work on making some more babies. Practically choked in her failed attempt to protest. I can't believe this. Just one word from my own son, and that's enough for him to sell me out? Ditsong, on the other hand, was unceremoniously grinning from one side to the other. Yin Yin, how can we not obey when father-in-law has spoken? Let's start working on making a sister for our son right away. Ditsong, flustered and annoyed. The poor woman wanted to lash out only to be cut off by her own unreliable father's voice. That's wonderful. The sooner the better. When my people finish readying the room, you two can go at it right away. Gawking and unsure where to turn now for help, Bai Yin huffs and puffs like an extremely irritated rabbit. Didn't father say he want to keep me around for a few years? How can he do this? Bai Ning's a fugitive 6, good child. Yinfeng warmly gives his grandchild a rub on the head to show how much he cared for the kid, thus causing a burst of giggling in return from the boy. Your grandfather, I will definitely grant you your wish, but before then, I still have one more request. Turning to Ditsong, after seemingly remembering something important. My daughter has been separated from me for many years. I can't bear to see her leaving so quickly for foreign lands. The demon realm is so far away. If Yinner marries over there, it will likely become very difficult to see her in the future. So, I hope, putting energy into his voice, you would stay in a misty fairy house. Squinting his eyes right then and there, a devious and scheming light flashed within Ditsong's iris. Okay, I can promise to stay in the misty fairy house. But the demon realm cannot be without a king, and Xiachen doesn't want to manage it either. So, when Yin Yin gives birth to another son for me, I will toss the throne to him and leave the boy in charge. Afterwards, I will return here with Yin Yin and live together. This boy, just because he has Xiachen backing him up, that he's talking terms now. Yinfeng complains inwardly, but what he said isn't unreasonable. Then Yinner, you need to work hard and make some more babies. When you have another son, I can then see you often. The poor woman makes a dismayed face at everyone. To be fair, she's been schemed against by her own husband, and she knows it, yet she could do nothing to refute it or fight back. Oh Yin Yin, father-in-law has spoken. Let us go back to our room and begin our work. Taking advantage of the opening, Ditsong promptly swirled his naughty hands around the woman's waist and swept her away and out of sight. Xiachen, stepping forward to pick up the kid from the floor, Di Xiaowan was all smiles on the face now that the great big scary brother was gone. Andy here missed you so much. Why don't we go have a tour around the place? Tour? Are you sure it's not to cause trouble? Blinking his big blue eyes, the kid eyes his auntie with a suspicious look. This sweet, Dumba Klutz auntie of mine has never been good. She's a typical troublemaker. Xiachen, pouting up her cheeks, the demon princess shows an exasperated face. What do you mean by this? Not only does your father bullies me, now you're also bullying me. How can you think of me like that? I'm never one to go provoking others or to make trouble. Really? The kid remains skeptical. There are simply too many cases where she's roused up a storm with Chu Yi, Holy Land Princess, and needed his mother to clean up the mess. So, this time was no different in the boy's view. Don't worry, Xiachen, you two can go have fun. Even if you do cause some trouble along the way, your grandfather here will handle the aftermath. Yinfeng may not like his new son-in-law all that much due to the man stealing away his daughter, but towards this younger sister, he's rather fond of her. Father, you can rest assured that I won't get into trouble. Patting her chest like it would mean anything, the demon princess readily promises. Stiff in the face. What did you call me? Father, of course. Since you are my sister-in-law's old man, then it's only normal I call you father. Fluttering her flashy eyebrows, the demon princess doesn't seem to understand what she did wrong. The man's mouth twitched several times over that answer. If one didn't know better, they might think you're trying to rob your brother of his wife. Fortunately, this Dumba klutz didn't outright call Yin Feng her father-in-law. Otherwise, who knows what Deet Song would have done to her after getting wind of that. Likely a good beating for real. Then, father, can me and Shachin go out? She asks without a second thought, waving his hand. Go ahead, just remember to come back early. The outside is not safe at night. Not safe. Puckering his lips to the side, Bai Shachin didn't have the same opinion as his grandfather. To him, the ones who needs to watch out wasn't them. It's those from the Misty Fairy House. Dragonis whereabout, one. Flinging the door open, the man carefully places the woman in his possession down onto the king-sized bed. That movement was extremely light, as if he's holding treasure. Deet Song. Suddenly, the woman met that restless hand with her own in order to stop the undressing. Thankfully, that rosy smile she's making told the other sex she's not at all unwilling, but rather a momentary pause to their impending union. Actually, I have something I'm hiding from you. Stopped with most of their outer clothes pried wide open. It's only a few steps more for everything to come off. As Deet Song made this sound with his raspy voice of neediness, he deliberately smudges his lip across that blushing cheek to emphasize his desire. Do you remember when you forced your contract with me? Lowering her face as if recollecting memories of old, the scene of that blood-colored battlefield once again replays itself, thus causing her heart to tense up in pain. Not only just you, but also when Little Rice and Sing you made a contract with me, I saw a battlefield flash before my eyes. In that place, the both of them died in order to protect me, and the demon realm and celestial realm were at war with each other too. For a while, the atmosphere in the room became rather strange, like they're both unsure how to proceed, because it was now completely silent. Eventually, Bai Yin decides this secret couldn't be withheld. Biting her lower lip, she continues, Do you understand where I'm going with this? Whenever you wanted to have sex with me before, I stopped you every time partly because of that. I kept experiencing that flashback during the final phase. But now I want you to know what's happening. So, help me remember everything, because I think those images are from my past life, and I don't want this issue to keep stopping us halfway. Understanding what his wife meant by that, Deet Song promptly used his powerful pair of hands to pull the woman into a seated position atop of his lap. Then, using his bloodishly red lip, he closes the distance to give a light peck on the mouth before speaking. In your memories, was I there? Under that intense and possessive gaze, Bai Yin firmly nods. Yes. This instantly brought a wave of happiness to the man. This great demon lord has never been one to smile, nor does he like to smile all in fact. However, that changes as soon as he's in front of his wife, especially when Bai Yin just confessed she has him in his heart. Then I am relieved. Confused by that reply, Bai Yin didn't understand where her husband's focus was on. It's not matching up with the topic. Yin, I don't care what happened in your previous life. As long as you are mine in this lifetime, then that's enough for me. Leaning in closer to finally give a full kiss, and that celestial realm will sooner or later become ours. I will conquer all the realms if I have to, just so you can live in peace. I know you will keep your words, but until then, though, I want to learn more about the memories I have first. Looking up, Bai Yan's starry eyes were heart-thumpingly seductive to the point where even the man had a gasp inside. Okay. When the word came out, their bodies were already mingling together in a struggle for control. Dragonis whereabout too. Bai Yan's eyelash started to quiver as soon as she's closed them due to the intense rush of ecstasy that coursed through her veins as a result of the ill-behaving man's effort. But the rush didn't last for long because her state of mind also went into the same blank mode as before. Sure enough, Bai Yan's consciousness was now standing in the same space that plagued her mind. Unlike usual, though, this time it's not a blood-stained battlefield, but rather a perfectly blue sky without a speck of cloud. Perhaps it's due to her change of heart in wanting to dive deeper rather than avoid the issue. Regardless of the reasoning, it's now different. Looking around to scan her surroundings, Bai Yin soon found the main characters for this dream. It's a young girl crouched into the grasses, tending to a silvery fox. Based on the blood staining its fur, the little fellow was obviously injured. And despite the kind gesture and smiling face from the human, the animal clearly didn't take it well and growled in return. Little fox, how can you growl at me when I'm trying to save you? If you don't get your act together, then I'm going to smack your bottom. The young girl should have been around 12 to 13 years old based on her appearance. As someone that's still not matured enough to understand her actions, she huffs and puffs and returned with a stare of her own. Not to be taken lightly, the silvery fox proudly snorts at that threat and paid no heed to the pumping fist. I would rather die than to let you bunch from the celestial realms save me. Not far away, Bai Yin silently watches the silly interaction between the pair and soon realized this must be her and Ditsong's first encounter in their former life. It's too obvious. For one thing, that arrogant and overbearing attitude was one and the same. Even if the temperament spelled the man's existence to the teeth, because Bai Yin suddenly had the urge to toss that personality to the trash bin. Dear, if you take this medicinal pill, then your injury will be healed. You should leave this place quickly once you're able to move. It's not good if others to find you. The girl ignores the resistance of her patient and hands a beady little pill to the fox. But the little fella didn't take the item, only staring at it with a wrinkle on the forehead as if contemplating something. Yinner, a third voice cuts in from the air, causing the young girl to jerk up in a panic. In her flustered state, she immediately tossed the fox into a nearby cave, followed by her medicine. Deed done. Only then did she swing around to meet the oncoming man from the front. This should have been nothing special, but Bai Yin was now fully paying attention to this new arrival. She's not sure either, but that voice sounded vaguely familiar, like it's been heard somewhere. Wanting to dig deeper, since she's unable to see that face due to the man having his back turned to her, Bai Yin figured it's time she moved closer to get a clearer look. It's not known what happened or if something in the background caught the stranger's attention, but right when she's only a step away from getting a perfect look, the man swings around and catches her completely off guard. Then, as if that wasn't bad enough, a sudden stinging pain from her lower abdomen shakes her soul, shattering the entire image at the crucial moment. Dragonese whereabout 3. At first, Bai Yan's head was still reeling in from being forcibly pulled back to reality, but the next thrusting pain that came completely destroyed any form of haziness in her head. Looking down, she could see clearly what's happening and the cause for the interruption, one hand groping her breast, the other holding her left leg down to open herself up for entry. This bastard was having his way with her by ramming that slimy rod in and out of her slippery folds as he pleased. This enraged the woman. Literally screaming like a lioness, she gives a ruthless kick at the man's manhood. Get off me. Just a little bit more, and I could have seen who that guy was. But because of Ditsong's horniness, I lost the chance. Yin Yin, all red and purple in the face, Ditsong started spewing cold sweat on the forehead as his hand covered the part which should have never been kicked. Are you trying to maim your own husband with that kick? Get out. The livid rage still plastered on her face. Bai Yin had honestly never expected this thug to go so far without her consent. What she meant earlier was for him to help her enter that world, not downright start having sex while her consciousness was away. Yin Yin, realizing his wife wasn't joking around in that tone, Ditsong became anxious, hurrying to clasp on her hands to make up for his folly. His face played innocent. I'm just obeying father-in-law's command, and earlier you also agreed. I could have let you continued if you had just waited for one more moment. Why did you have to push in at that moment? I was so close to seeing who that guy was. In fact, Bai Yin could tell that individual back. There was exactly the same person who stood at opposing sides to herself and Ditsong at the first battle. That meant the death of Azure Dragon and White Tiger must be related to him as well. And the air coming off of that guy felt so familiar that it's driving her nuts. It's definitely someone she knew, but who? I know my fault. Staring up at her like a pleading puppy, Ditsong was really putting it on thick. I don't care, you go outside right now. Heaving a long huff, she points to the door and orders him to move it. Yin Yin, go out. You're not coming back inside until I say so. She shoots an exasperated glare at him. Just hit me if you're angry. Don't hurt your own body, okay? In his futile attempt, the man pulls her hand to smack at the chest to only fail miserably because Bai Yin had already retracted them before contact. Seeing the unwilling attitude, the man's devious grin grew in kind. Yin, I just knew you wouldn't have the heart to hit me. Quit with that play. Pointing at the doorway again, she remains firm in her stance. I want to calm down and think about this. Though very disappointed by the rejection, Deetsung nevertheless got off the bed as told. Okay, but make sure to call me when you're done. After saying that, he then went toward the outside only to stop midway. I will wait for you at the door here, okay? Talk about annoying and hilarious. Bai Yin truly didn't know whether to be angry or to laugh at this guy's shamelessness at this point. Calling him a thug is perfect, yet he's so lovable at times like these. Yes, even before she left the demon realm, Bai Yin has already fallen in love with this persistent bastard. Otherwise, why else would she lose all sense of sanity and logic back then? If it was the usual her, she would have deduced something was wrong and investigated the matter thoroughly instead of outright leaving. That's the sort of personality she has. Thankfully, fate was kind, and the man she loves treasure herself to the fullest. Therefore, Bai Yin has no intention of repeating the same mistake her own mother made back on Earth. Dragonis were about for, by the time Di Xiao Wan and Bai Xiachen returned from their little outing, the hour was already late into the evening. So, out of curiosity and worry, Chief Wu Wei had decided to ask the guard he sent along for the details. Did any trouble cross Miss Xiao Wan's path today? Wiping some of the cold sweat from his forehead, the guard makes a wry smile, as if that's the most ridiculous question ever. Trouble for the lady? More like she's making trouble for others. What's the matter? Why are you not answering? Did someone cause them harm? Seeing no reply came, the chief demands an answer. It's like this, chief. Today Miss Xiao Wan she crippled the young master from the Lin clan. The guard's body was shaking just thinking back to the gruesome image of today's event. Frowning. What do you mean by that? Explain. Because of a few teasing words to the lady, she slapped the young man across the face and sent him flying. Now the teen couldn't even speak as a result of the injury. She's that fierce. Startled by the news, Chief Wu Wei didn't expect this of the girl. In his view, the young lady should be a well-heaving young lady with a lovely appearance. Who could have thought her methods are even more direct and cruel? And then, the Lin family retaliated after learning of the teen's injury. They sent countless masters to get even with Miss Xiao Wan, but the results were, Chief, she actually uprooted the entire Lin family by herself. I don't mean she just gave them a beating. She actually uprooted their entire estate, and now there's only a giant pit in where their mansion should be. This lady is clearly not the type to be messed with. Why did the chief even send me to follow her around? The guard's almost crying by this point. More importantly, this lady is a trouble magnet. Not only did she uproot the Lin family's home, she also dropped a warning after the deed, stating Miss Bai Yan's her sister-in-law. If anyone comes seeking trouble, she will go back and protest for revenge. Now the entire Misty Fairy house is in an uproar. They all fear the girl and would flee at first sight. Gasping, Chief Wu Wei almost fell to the floor when he stumbled backwards, holding his chest like his heart's about to bleed. Slowed down first. What you're telling me is that the reputation of our main house is ruined. Is that what you mean? It's one thing to uproot the Lin family. After all, it was their side who provoked the girl first with the teasing comments. But to throw that last statement out there, isn't that the same as making trouble for us? Seeing the chief was this frightened already after his report, the guard figured he's safer if he avoided detailing about the next incidents that followed afterwards. Changing the topic for his own benefit. Chief, I believe the lady is in no need of protection, so... Right, you don't have to follow them anymore starting today. Shaking his head with a wry smile, in the Misty Fairy house, it's unlikely anyone is capable of harming the girl at all. If you continue to follow her, then it might turn into her protecting you. Forget it. You can go back to your regular work. Waving his hand, the chief dismisses the subordinate. Bowing his head in great relief, The guard was just about to leave when he was stopped. Wait, where exactly is Miss Xiao, Wan, and my great-grandson right now? They went to the young ladies in Sir's room. Should I go stop them? Because of Yin Feng's order earlier today of not letting anyone get near the bedchamber, the guard wanted to get explicit permission before doing so. It's not the man getting paranoid or anything, but rather there's an example to follow. Huanin already came earlier to seek an audience from Bai Yin in order to show her gratitude for the debt of curing her body's ailment. Sadly, the hopeless lass was turned away using that reasoning. Dragonis whereabout 5, picking up a smirk of his own, the chief could already imagine what's going to happen. And, based on Miss Xiao Wan's fear of her own brother, I doubt she will have the courage to disturb their good moment. Yes, chief, cupping his hand, the guard complies. While that was taking place in the study room, Di Xiao Wan and Bai Xiachen, on the other hand, have already arrived at the mentioned courtyard. When the pair saw who was outside the bedchamber and what he's doing, they had to rub their eyes to make sure it's not an illusion. Huh, is that my brother? The kid nods. It looks like Batty Father, all right. Xiachen, a sly light escapes the demon princess's eye. You go do what we planned. Hurry. This all tangled inside. This might not be a good idea after all. He's no stranger to this sweet Dumbaklutz pulling a fast one on others, but not even this kid would be crazy enough to test his old man's patience. That's the equivalent of provoking the big bad boss of a dungeon. What's so bad about our plan? The demon princess huffs a grunt. Did you forget already? Xiachen, if not for my brother, your father, luring so many love flowers over and not cleaning after his own mess, would your mother be hurt? Would she run away from home with you? We are not doing anything bad, okay? We are getting even for your mother's sake, so there's no harm done at all. Swinging his little head around to meet that beautiful eye of the girl's. But Auntie, I remember you also had a hand in causing the misunderstanding that day. Stiff in the face. I know that, but the main culprit is still your father, so we have to give him a lesson so he won't forget. This way he won't ever think about trying it for a second time. Going silent after hearing that last bit, the boy once again recalls back to the pained look of his mother's face that day. As such, his involuntarily nodded in agreement. Okay, Annie, you wait here for me. Grinning right up to her eyes now, Di Xiao Wan didn't bother to hide her glee at this moment. Over the years, she's been scared shitless by her older brother, so getting payback in this manner was something she could have only dreamed about until now. At this time, Di Tsang's mind was so full of what he's going to do in order to win his wife's forgiveness that he didn't even realize he's now with company. But that's changed as soon as he's heard that howl in the air. Turning dark in his face, the man could see, whether it be the sky or ground. Hordes of demon beasts were quickly converging on his location. And due to this commotion, others of the residents had also come over in order to investigate. To everyone's great surprise and astonishment, they saw it. To be more precise, what Di Tsang was doing at this moment. He's kneeling in front of the bedchamber because Bai Yin had banished him out the door. But that's not all, though. Being thrown out of the bed was common for those being married. What shocked everyone was what's underneath the man's leg. There's a washboard. Note, for those that don't know, a washboard is what people used to wash laundry with. It's like a grater where they keep rubbing the clothes with water and soap. The great demon lord, proud and almighty, their leader and god, was now degraded to being a kneeling doorman? Talk about destroying one's image in its entirety. Who let any of you come in? Slightly cold and glaring, Di Tsang pulls himself up like nothing's happened. Dragonis whereabouts 6, Di Xiao Wan. Di Tsang's sight eventually fell upon the princess's head, where he spoke using the heaviest voice he's ever used. Shouldn't you be giving me an explanation? Shuddering at being called out, the girl quickly takes a step back. It's not my business, it's your baby boy. He called everyone over with his howl to see the show. By this point, Bai Xiachen was already looking gobsmackingly stunned. I've been cheated? And it's sweet Dumbaklutz who cheated me. Bai Xiachen. Grinding his teeth, Di Tsang snaps out at his son. But before any punishment could be dished out for this travesty, the door behind himself was suddenly flung open with a huge kick. Knowing full well what's happening, the man's first instinct was to make a quick dash back towards the washboard and onto his knees. Yin Yin, are you finally ready to come out to see me? He smiles all innocently like he didn't utter any threat. What are you all doing here? Sweeping her gaze across the gathered crowd. All of you get out of here. At that cry, most of the flocking demon beasts started to scramble away like they'd been pardoned by their liege. This included some of the humans who were careless enough to come snooping around. As for Dishao, Wan, and the boy, they weren't so lucky because just when they're about to slip away among the masses, the woman's voice caught them. The two of you stay. Sister-in-law. All stiff in her expression, Dishao Wan forces a smile. I am innocent. Mother, it's Annie who used me. Blinking his big blue eyes, the kid promptly pulled out a poor face like he's also a victim. Next time I won't protect you too if this happens again. Sucking in a deep breath, Bai-yin makes a slightly deflated sigh at the troublesome pair. Yes, mother. Sister-in-law, I promise I won't bring anyone to come see a show next time. After being relieved at the pardon, the pair quickly ran away out of fear by Yin changing her mind. How long are you going to keep kneeling there? I only had you go outside, I didn't. Looking down at the shameless man, she once again heaved a long sigh like the trouble never ends. So you're forgiving me? Deetsong's face was filled to the brim with affection as he asked. What he really meant there, though, was this. If you don't forgive me, then I won't get up. This bastard is becoming more like a thug every day. Grinding her molars, the poor woman wanted to give him a stomp to vent some of the frustration. Fine, I'll forgive you this time. However, you mustn't disturb me at the next occasion, or else, squinting her eyes into a narrow slit, a warning gleam shoots out of the woman's pupil. But who is Deetsong? He's the utterly shameless and hopeless demon lord who's madly in love with this human woman. Jerking up like a pouncing wolf on a hormone-induced craze, he jumped at the chance to wind his horny hands around his wife's waist and onto her butt. Grinning wickedly. We didn't manage to complete the process earlier. How about we finish what we started? Shooting a stare over to the guy. This bastard is so hopeless, Arg. He's already showing his real face as soon as I forgive him. Are you sure you can keep it up after taking my kick? Doesn't that part hurt? Oh, my love, you are taking your husband here too lightly. Even if you stomp at it 10 more times, 100 more times, I can still get it up and rearing to go. Is that so? All dangerous in that frosty smirk, Bai-yin shifts her sight down to the man's bulging crotch. Then why don't we take that theory to the test? Towards this suggestion, Deetsong could literally feel a chilling breeze running through his back. He knows he's very well fucked up this time by saying what he shouldn't. To be clear, that kick earlier had nearly brought him to tears. A humph. Suddenly, a faint cough from the side interrupts their flirting conversation. Looking over, they could see it's Bai-yan's father standing there with a great big grin of baring teeth. Father, what are you doing here? She asks. Oh, I was just having a stroll around the home when I heard people mentioning there's a good show to be seen here. But it looks like I've come late and missed it. While Bai-yin herself was twitching in the corner of her mouth over that comment, Deetsong wasn't faring so well. His face was a complete charcoal black because not only did he humiliate himself before everyone today, he also lost any form of respect he would have had by letting his father-in-law see his pitiful image of kneeling on a washboard. Sure enough, rumors of the great demon lord being nothing more than a wife-slave has begun from this day forward. A reputation which would continue to haunt Deetsong until the day he passes away. Dragonis whereabouts 7. She now finally knows how her son managed to pull so many demon beasts here at once. The boy used Deetsong as a monkey show. Don't listen to those people, father. What show could there be here to watch? Pinching her husband's hand, Bai-yin shoots a stare to her man as a warning not to babble on in case it makes things worse. Unfortunately for this careless woman, her act only gave the demon lord the opportunity to grasp onto those fingers and not let go. Acting like he's oblivious to their flirtatious behavior, Yun Feng continues to grin from eye to eye. Actually, I came to find you too for another matter. What? Startled, Bai-yin asks. Remember the little lass you're looking for? Well, someone has informed me there's information on her whereabouts. According to some eyewitnesses at Plum Mountain, there's been a sighting of a dragon that could transform into a human girl. I suspect that dragon is the one you're seeking. Lighting up in the face. Where is this Plum Mountain? It's not far from here. I could get my people to accompany you. There's no need for that. Tell me the directions, and we will go there on our own. Also, Father, I will have to bother you to look after Xiachen and Xiaowan while we're not around. This promptly brought on a twitching disorder in the man's mouth. Yinfeng's not oblivious to the troubles caused by the demon princess in the short time she's around so far. Yinner, can you bring Miss Xiaowan along with you and leave Xiachen behind? This won't do. If that girl continues to stay at our home unsupervised, then who knows what other sort of problems might arise. No need for that sort of hassle. We'll be back very soon anyways. If we bring her along with us, then I'm afraid it might take more than a few days to return. Baiyan naturally didn't quite get the hint in her old man's plea there, hence the denial. All right, then you must come back quickly, as soon as possible. Yinfeng made sure to repeat this twice to emphasize that point. Sadly, this fell on deaf ears. Turning to Di Song, Baiyan decides to head off. We're leaving now. I want to find Dragoni as soon as possible. Okay. Towards his wife's request, this demon lord has never been one to refuse. But the most hateful part was the fact that the dragon girl holds an important spot in Baiyan's heart, which meant he's now forced to share another space in there with someone else. Oh yes, Tsing, you will also have to be in your care while we're gone. Please find the ingredients on the list I gave you. She is in urgent need of the medicine. After some thought, Baiyan bothers her old man with another request. It couldn't be helped. The injuries have been there years already, any longer, and it might devolve into a scenario where even Baiyan might not have the confidence to tackle. Don't worry, I have already found all the herbs you need except for one. The last is already being searched by my people. I'm sure there will be news very soon. This was a rare chance for Yinfeng to act like a proper father, so this request has become top priority in the man's head. Then we'll set off first. Heaving a breather, Baiyan no longer wants to delay the matter and waltz right out of the courtyard. Plum Mountain's located not far from the main city. With the strength of a monarch rank, reaching the place could be done within a day's time if they rushed it. Under normal circumstances, this mountain would be a quiet and peaceful area for those who wish to go for a hike or a little venture. But now, it's crowded with large numbers of adventurers and members of various smaller sections. The most notable were the group standing at guard, expelling everyone else from the mountain. This Plum Mountain is now under the control of our Sky Dragon sect. Outsiders are to leave immediately. Aren't you people overstepping your boundaries? Who here doesn't know there's a dragon up in the mountain? Seeing the bullying behavior of these people from the Sky Dragon sect, the rest of the adventurers had all started to shout and curse at them. Though there are indeed dragons living within the territories of the Misty Fairy House, but after so many years of secrecy and lack of sighting, most have gradually turned to believing it as a myth. For example, these adventurers and smaller sects under the rule of the Misty Fairy House only came because of the rumored sighting. Not even they themselves actually believed the myth until recently, where someone noteworthy swore by the rumor. Dragoni's whereabout ate ho-ho. The people from the Sky Dragon sect scoffs a laugh at the outspoken individual. You're nothing but a king rank. How dare you come here and demand a piece of the prize? Know this, our sect leader has already broken into the monarch rank the other day. Now, do you still want to talk? For a while there, the rest of the protesting crowd had gone silent, their faces all fuming red due to the curses they couldn't say. And another thing, our leader has gone in person to the Plum Mountain, presumably to tame that dragon. If you people don't leave now, then you better prepare yourselves. By then I doubt any of you will be able to get off easy. But that doesn't mean you can just take the dragon girl for yourself either. The outspoken individual still didn't want to leave. He knows if they don't fight for the dragon, then it would mean a major loss on their part and a major gain for the foe. But it's as these grunts down here says, their sect leader was indeed very powerful. More than they could handle. Then, just as the blockading grunts were about to throw another series of mockery at the other side, someone suddenly exclaimed from the side and cut their voices off. Just now, did you see that? I think someone just entered the Plum Mountain. What? The leading grunt grew furious. Who dares to go against our Sky Dragon sect? If the sect leader finds out I didn't stop everyone at the base as ordered. Thinking of the consequences, the leading grunt immediately scans the mountain for signs of the trespassers. Sure enough, his eyes soon fell upon the family of trio moving up the dirt path. The most eye-catching had to be the woman in red. She's most likely the wife and was exceptionally beautiful. As for the child holding onto the female's hand, it would be the son based on how carefree he was acting in between the parents. And as for the male who was both threatening and seductive, the grunt didn't dare to make eye contact and shirked away at first glance. The three of you don't move. Despite the hollering order, the family simply ignored him and continued on for the deeper parts of the mountain. Do you know who we are? We are the Sky Dragon sect. All living dragons of this world belongs to us. They are our slaves. Trembling all over due to the intense rage and fear coursing through the grunt's vein, he could do nothing but to use his own sect's name to threaten the couple. He's the typical type to bully the weak and cower before the strong. Meanwhile, in the background, the other adventurers and smaller sects were all showing shock at this blatant display of dismissal. Though they also wanted to act like that and not admit defeat, but the Sky Armor sect holds too much power and influence in comparison. These three are courting their own death at this rate. We may speak out, but who would really dare to go up the mountain? True, I've heard before that the Sky Dragon sect is named as so, is because the founder managed to tame a flying dragon and make it their servant. As a result of the gossiping voices, the grunts in charge of blockading the mountain base were immediately lit with pride after being openly humiliated. But then was that really the true story about a dragon being tamed? Absolutely not. There did exist a dragon in this Sky Dragon sect hundreds of years ago. However, the master in that case fell to the dragon, and it was the humans who were in charge of servicing the serpent. The dragon chief of the demon realm won, so, in order to hide the humiliating truth of himself being a mere servant to a beast after succumbing to its might, the founder of the Sky Dragon sect deliberately changed the history texts to suit his needs. Perhaps it's the boastful talks of his organization taming a dragon or whatever, but the leading grunt now suddenly found himself with courage. Picking up a hefty branch from the ground, he flings it at the family of three like a childish taunt. However, before the wooden object could make contact at all, the branch had suddenly halted in midair and swung around like a projectile. This scared the daylights out of the man, of course. Without being able to scream at this horrid sight, the branch had impaled itself into the leading grunt's chest and took his life away. The whole mountain base had fallen into a dead silence over this sight. Not a single person dared to move or utter a single word. That's how horrified they were at the disappearing figures of that family. Plum Mountain, standing atop of the peak, Lung Ching Chong coldly glares at the gathered group in front of herself. What? Does the Grass Heaven sect and Flying Moon sect also want to fight me for the prize? Oh, Ching Chong, that's not right in what you're saying. Lord Bao of the Grass Heaven sect sneers at the leader of the Sky Dragon sect. Since when is there a rule that other sects can't aim for the dragon just because you want her? As we all know, the number of demon beasts have been dwindling in the world, especially the dragon race. Now that one is before our eyes, there's no way we would give it up. That's right. Zhong Mu Qing of the Flying Moon sect also chimes in. Lord Bao is right. There's no reason for us to yield to you, Ching Chong. You may be the leader of the Sky Dragon sect, but that doesn't mean we will do as you wish. What's more, I'm sure the rest of the world will also do the same if they become aware of what's happening here. Hearing the words of these two men, Lung Ching Chang's temple immediately furrowed into a knot. There's a gleam of killing intent she's trying to suppress. It looks like the two of you have forgotten about my sect's origin. All dragons belong to us and must serve my people. You two want to snatch away what is by right the Sky Dragon sect's inheritance? Dream on. The two of you don't have that ability. Raising a smirk, this woman then shifts her gaze at the young little girl lying on the ground. This young lass had a very lovely appearance, just that it's marred by the anger-filled eyes staring at the humans gathered around herself. And as a result of the injuries she succumbed to, that face looked rather pale in the reflecting light of the sun. Little girl, compared with the cold, prideful tone she used against the others, Lung Ching Chong of the Sky Dragon sect sounded a lot kinder when facing her prize. These bad people are here to hurt you. Only by coming back to my home will you be sheltered from their evil hands. I don't believe in humans. The little girl huffs and swings her head to one side. Don't worry, little girl. My sky dragon sect is known to be very good to your kind. As long as you follow me, then no one can hurt you again. Really? Perhaps it's due to her lack of experience and age, but the lass soon came around and asked with a tinge of hope in her voice. Then can you help me find a person? Ooh, elated inside, the woman hurries to ask. She's called by Yen. That little sister is looking for this by Yen. If I have these humans help, then it should make it faster. The dragon chief of the demon realm, too. As for what she looks like, I don't know. The little girl frowns and makes a disappointed face. I only know she looks very good, and that she carries a baby fox around at all times. That fox is very beautiful, though. So, can you help me find them? Don't know what she looks like? Flashing in the eye like she's come down with a wonderful idea, Lung Ching Chong almost broke out into laughter. What a coincidence, my Sky Dragon sect also has someone that called by Yin, and she carries around a fox too. She might just be the one you're seeking. Really? The girl immediately livened up with those sparkling eyes. Little girl, Shui Bao of the Grass Heaven sect could no longer watch this. Using a sarcastic tone, this woman is a very high-handed person. If you do go with her, then you will likely never be able to leave again. First looking at the fleshy-looking Shui Bao, then at the good-looking woman, the little girl subconsciously chose to believe the female instead. It couldn't be helped. Looks are everything nowadays, especially when one's in unknown territory. I can go with you to the Sky Dragon sect, but you must let me meet Bai Yin. Little sister is still waiting for that person to go save her. Seeing the little girl's willingness to stand from the ground, Lung Ching Chong immediately issued a sigh of relief. She had worried earlier that it would be difficult to get the dragon to come with herself, but now it seems only a few lies was what's needed to break apart that vigilant attitude. Humph! Once you're at my place, then you will be forever mine. In this life, you will be my most loyal slave. Hold it! Seeing how the coveting prize was about to leave before their eyes, the other two men who also showed today could no longer stay idle. They attacked from both sides and raised a storm of clouds with their strikes. You people are seeking death. Greatly enraged by the interference, Lung Ching Chong retaliates only to be forced backwards in the first exchange. She's only by herself, and there's two powerful foes right now. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Multiple figures descends onto the ground at this moment, their stances in a defensive position around Ching Chang's front. Grinning right up to her eyes, Elders, I will take this girl and leave first. Handle these impudent transgressors until we're free. As soon as she said that, the woman immediately makes a grab for the little girl's collar. In one jump, the pair had flown into the air and disappeared onto the surrounding environment. As a result of that little turn of event, Bai Yin and her family weren't able to witness the whole process after they arrived. However, they did come across the ensuing fight that's now devastating the landscape in this part of the mountain. Deed Song, it seems that we are late in reaching here. Dragoni is nowhere to be seen. Showing a faint frown on her face, Bai Yin watches the battle between two forces up in the clouds with her son and husband. Wait here for me, Yin Yin. I won't be long. The man seductively whispers this into her ear and causes his wife to daze out for a moment. By the time Bai Yin came back to her senses, it was already too late to stop him. All of you listen up. Have any of you seen a wounded dragon around here? The dragon chief of the demon realm, 3. At first, the people fighting down below were still unaware of a third part arriving at their location. But after hearing the demanding question, they all stopped and snickered sarcastically at the arrogant man. So, another one has come to snatch the dragon girl for themselves? Mu Qing of the Grass Heaven sect says, unfortunately for you, the lass has already been taken away by the sect leader of the Sky Dragon sect. Whether she's dead or alive right now, no one knows, so quit wasting your efforts. Boom! Exploding with dangerous energy, Bai Yan's gaze turned sharp and bone-chilling. Are you saying those from the Sky Dragon sect took away Dragoni against her will? That's right. Mu Qing gnashes his teeth for that answer. If you still want to go collect the dragon girl's corpse, then go look for them. The statement was definitely over the tops because anyone could tell Lung Ching Chong took the dragon away in order to tame her. So, The reasonable expectation would be that there's no way the woman would kill the naive dragon girl. But why did this leader of the Sky Moon sect say something so damning? It's out of spite. If he couldn't get his hands on something, then he won't let others get it either. Song, we're leaving. Frosty inner tone. Yin didn't want to waste another second on these people. In her view, if so much as a hair were to be harmed on her adopted daughter, then they will pay with their dear lives. Hold it. The elders who came to act as backup for Lung Ching Chang's promptly attacked the family after hearing their intended purpose. Scram. Turning dangerous in the eye, Song raises a hand and fires off a blast of burning flame of purple at the pursuing group. In an instant, the elder team was incinerated, leaving nothing but a puff of smoke in their wake. Those left behind from the Sky Moon sect and Heaven Grass sect were completely shell-shocked by the picture. The only reason they told the truth regarding Lung Ching Chong taking away the Dragon Girl was because they wanted this family to act as a diversion. Then when the opening arises, the two would take the opportunity to leave and pursue the dragon on their own, while the family stays behind to keep the elders' team company. But who could have guessed the outcome for their plan would be this magnificent? Do we even have a chance to win against such people? Many survivors thought and began to have doubts in their ability. For a time, none had wanted to speak, nor did they move those legs at all. In fact, they didn't even realize it when Yin and her family had gone on their merry way due to being in their own little world. One hand holding his precious wife, the other his troublesome kid who threw a tantrum to tag along. Song moved at such razor-fast speed that the entire landscape had become a motioning blur. Sadly, despite the amazing pace they went at, there's no one left at the bottom of the mountain after they arrived. Son, call Goldie with your communication stone and ask him to seek your grandfather out. We need to know where that Sky Dragon sect is located. Furrowing her brow at the missed opportunity, Yan's voice revealed a touch of killing intent. Okay, mother. The little steam bun obeys the request with glee in his voice. He's very happy to be able to help after forcing his way for the ride. A few conversing dialogues later. Mother, grandfather, said as long as we keep going forward, then we will find the Sky Dragon sect. Then we'll go now. Back over at the main residence. Yinfeng had just finished communicating with his daughter and grandson when he tossed the communication stone back to Goldie, the gold dragon, making a confused face of worry. Why is Yinner asking about the Sky Dragon sect? Did they offend her or something? Because of Yan's urgency to find Dragoni, the little steam bun had omitted the details regarding their new destination and reasoning for going. Yinfeng, did the Sky Dragon sect offend someone? It was then that Chief Wu Wei's inquiring voice cuts in from the back, causing the already perplexed man to get even more agitated. The Dragon Chief of the Demon Realm, towards this father of his, Yinfeng definitely held a certain level of resentment. After all, if it wasn't for this person, then he wouldn't have lost his wife and missed out on the important years of his own daughter growing up. However, when he turned around to meet that deliberate, flattering smile of this older man, he just couldn't help but soften into a hopeless sigh. The Sky Dragon sect offended Yinner. What did you say? The chief flies into a rage. The Sky Dragon sect offend Yinner? Who doesn't know the girl is my granddaughter? I remember we recently took one of their elders into our ranks because the guy broke into the middle level of the monarch rank. Bring him along and go see what's happening. Yinfeng stared blankly at his old man right now. He wanted to remind the person of Song and Yan's strength, but against the thought of someone trying to bully his daughter. I'll take people there right away. Giving a supportive nod, I want everyone to know that Yin is my granddaughter, and that no one can offend her, especially that Sky Dragon sect. But just when the chief wanted to say something else and give a few more orders, a delicate voice from the rear had caught him off guard. Grandfather, are you talking about the Sky Dragon sect? Holding a skewer of sugar dates in hand, Xiao Wan asks with curious light in those eyes. You know about them as well? Chief Wu Wei responds with a tinge of surprise in those eyes. Not exactly. The princess shakes her head, but I do know the current dragon chief had once set up a faction here in the human world. I'm just wondering if it's the same one. Ever since Dragoni's father was removed from the position of chief from his clan, the new leader of the dragons had fallen onto the shoulder of the individual called Longtion, Dragon Sky. So, as the nosy little brat that the princess was, she's been listening in on a lot of stories after pestering the poor man, hence the knowledge about this case. Taken aback by this, Chief Wu Wei sounded almost incredulous. You mean, the Sky Dragon sect was founded by a dragon, and that the human founder was nothing more than a slave to the creature? Isn't it supposed to be the other way around? Regarding that last bit, the princess nearly lost her footing and dropped the sugar dates from those hands. That's how shocked she was. The dragons have always been proud and arrogant. How can they willingly become someone's slave? Let's do this. Since the dragon chief still hasn't paid his greetings to my sister-in-law because he couldn't make it due to some delay, we can ask him when he comes. Based on the timing, the man should be arriving soon. Gobbling up the sugar dates, she wipes those lips and grinned in a silly manner. Duh. Both men exchange a glance, their minds thinking of the same thing. The Sky Dragon sect's history is fake? Perhaps it's just a coincidence, or that fate likes to play with humanity. But a loud, thundering roar of a dragon suddenly rocks the entire estate and sends everyone scrambling for the outside. It's not just the main house who's been alarmed by this magnificent force, either, because one could literally hear this from 1,000 miles away. As a result, those elders in closed-door training right now had all broke out of their hiding spots and searched the air for the source. The Dragon Chief of the Demon Realm, 5. Have all the elders come see me right away. Running in with haste, Lung Qing Chang's first order to her people was to summon the rest of the elder team remaining in her sect. In no time at all, a gathering within the conference hall has been arranged. Seated in the middle section, right now, I want all of you to go find a good-looking woman and catch a fox for me. I need her to pose as someone else with a name called by Yin. Though the group didn't quite understand their sect leader's order or why it's been demanded, but they didn't object. It's a well-known fact that this Qing Chong was a dictator and wouldn't listen to anyone. Yes, leader. Affirming with a slight bow, they all left to carry out the command, showing a sinister grin after being left alone. I, Lung Qing Chong, have never lost in this life. Not to mention the dragons should be submitting to my Sky Dragon sect in the first place. If only the founder is still around, then I won't even need to resort to using such means to make those lizards submit. Perhaps it's the thought of her idolized figure, but the cold look in this woman's face had gradually softened up. At this moment, 2 disciples of this faction were currently moaning and groaning at the foot of the mountain after being given the order from the higher-ups. I really don't know what the sect leader is thinking. Why would she have us go look for a woman in order to pretend to be someone else? And what's with the fox, too? I know. Finding a woman is easy. We can get one from a nearby village, but a fox, though. Where are we supposed to find one when most have run off in the general direction of the main house from yesterday? Both youngsters sighed at their misfortune. Then, just when they're about to continue in their search, a mesmerizing and gorgeous figure appears in front, causing their eyes to gawk with light. Senior Zhang, what do you think of that girl over there? Sect leader mentioned the more beautiful the better. She would be a perfect fit. How about we ask her? While the individual said it like a question, but those feet had already started to move before then. Miss, sir, please hold on a minute. At this moment, Bai Yin and Ditsong were busy rushing up the mountain path when they were stopped by the 2 youngsters. As a result, the woman's brow had furrowed into a knot at the interruption. Miss, I'll introduce myself first. I am a disciple of the Sky Dragon sect. The one on the left loudly proclaims, his face showing pride at his own background. This instantly caught the female's attention despite her initial intent to ignore these 2. Sky Dragon sect? She chuckles dangerously. Not noticing their doomed fate, the youngster continues after getting their attention. Yes, I am a disciple of the Sky Dragon sect. This time our leader specifically had us come down to look for a facially beautiful woman to pose as someone. And the job is simple. You only have to gain the trust of a young lass. The sole reason why they didn't bother looking within their own grounds was because of a very simple fact. Lung Qing Chong has always been a jealous person. She would never allow anyone to be more beautiful than herself to take the limelight. openly frowning now. Who are you trying to pose as? It's a woman called by Yin. They're all here, one, completely baffled by what she's heard. Bai Yin shows a strange look on her face. The Sky Dragon sex people want to impersonate me? Papa, Mama, Bai Xiaochen speaks while blinking innocently. That Sky Dragon sex should have a lot of fun things there. Can we go with these big brothers? At first, she didn't quite understand what her son meant by the odd request. But then when she noticed the cunning and sly glint in the boy's pupil, she immediately knew what he wanted. Sure, Ditsong's speed may be extremely fast and convenient, but that doesn't change the fact they're on limited time and don't know the exact location of the other side's base of operation. Now that someone's willing to lead them there, who would refuse? Hubby E, stretching that word out in the most cringe-worthy manner, Bai Yin went ahead to place that arm around her man's shoulder like a happy couple. I also heard of their name. Now that we are here anyways, why don't we go up to the mountain and have a look to grow some insight? This immediately sent the great demon, Lord, numb to his knees from the jumping delight. How could he ever deny her request when she says it like that? Okay, all smiles there when facing his wife. Ditsong's voice was filled with affection. Towards this picture, both disciples from the Sky Dragon sect were sneering inside after they exchanged a look. This woman really is a country bumpkin. Just hearing about our big name, and she's already being moved. No matter, such a thing is more to our convenience. Humph. The one on the right, wearing the blue robe, warns his colleague with a cough to not say more. Later, when the sect leader asks, tell her you're my distant relative. We did not find you here at the foot of the mountain, understand? That little comment instantly infuriated the great demon lord's ire. However, right when the man's about to release some of that murderous aura, the woman beside him notices it and tugged at his hand to halt it. Understand. No matter, I will get even with these people from the Sky Dragon sect after I find Dragoni. A little more time won't make a difference. Perhaps it's because of Lung Qing Chang's order, but the mood within this sect hasn't been very peaceful lately. Is the little girl still making a fuss? The sect leader asks while being served by a large number of ladies. Despite this picture that would make most men drool, it didn't. Mostly because of the mediocre faces of these females aside from one. Leader, that dragon girl is crying out constantly, demanding to meet Bai Yin. We have only just sent our people out to find an imposter. It won't be for a while until they return. One of the disciples report in a respectful manner. It's fine. Don't worry about those tantrums. There will be a time when she be repaying us her debts. It was then a man hurriedly runs into the lobby. Arching his fist, sect leader, one of our inner core disciples by the name of Zhang Feng, has returned with good news. He claims to have met a girl with the needed requirement. Going bright in the eye, the laid-back woman promptly got up. Get him in here. Yes, the man retreats, and soon brought the mentioned youngster inside. Originally, Lung Qing Cheng was still very much being excited at the good news. But upon seeing the gorgeous-looking woman that followed suit, her hands instinctively clenched into a tight ball. She has a shallow heart, always did. So, none of the females within the Sky Dragon sect are exceptional by any standard. Now to have her limelight stolen in open sight, it's only to be expected she be mixed inside. One for needing Bai Yin to act as the imposter, the second of wanting to kick her out immediately. But that sort of thought quickly changed after her eyes fell upon Bai Xiaochen and Ditsong. That said it all. She's completely enamored by their handsomeness. They're all here, too, just that this tyrant of a woman has been sick of the opposite after living for so many years. As such, her moment of astonishment only lasted for a brief second before returning to normal. These are sect leader. Zhang Feng steps forward. This girl is my distant cousin. She had just arrived here today in order to visit me. I remembered leader's order and thought to bring her here for a try. Is she up to your satisfaction? Satisfaction? Of course not. She only tasked her people to find a beautiful woman. Never did she say anything about finding one this gorgeous. Sect leader. Just when Lung Qing Chong was being indecisive on an answer, the man from earlier who came to report had rushed back over. The dragon girl is throwing a huge tantrum and making a ruckus. At this rate, the premise will be destroyed. Bring the dragon girl over then. Tell her the one she's seeking has come. The woman orders, letting the situation decide for herself. Likewise, Yin had no objection to this idea. She intends to have her son take Dragoni away after she comes. As for herself and Song, they will be slowly going over the accounts with these people afterwards. Miss Ching Chong shifts her attention to Yin. Presumably my disciples here have already told you the details on what you need to do. Aside from what you're told, I also need you to persuade the dragon girl to contract with me. If you complete the task, then I will have a hefty reward waiting for you. Giving a chuckle with her eyes narrowed into a slit. I know what to do. Of course I know what to do. You people cheated Dragoni, then tried to impersonate me. When everything is over, I will make sure none of this remains. But, slightly frowning, a burst of doubt sprouts within Yan's heart. Why is Dragoni doing this? She knows how I look, so why did she have these people help her search without giving them a portrait? Good that you know it. Feeling mildly relieved, Lung Ching Chong issues a long sigh. Hope today will be successful. Then I can take in this dragon girl and make her mine. Soon a petite little figure had stepped through the sun-shrouded doorway of the main lobby, those eyes blinking with hopeful light. Likewise, Yin had also turned around at hearing the sound of her steps, but what she saw wasn't exactly what she expected. It's not Dragoni? I clearly gave her portrait to my two shifus. How can they find the wrong person? Queen, elated in the face, the strange new girl threw herself over. Queen, these people really didn't deceive me. You are indeed here. Queen? Startled by this outburst, Lung Ching Chung suddenly found unease in the unexpected situation. This dragon girl isn't just looking for any random woman, but also a member of the dragon clan, and the queen at that. Who are you? Taking 2 steps back at the pouncing girl, Yin tightly furrows her brow as she asked. If she's not Dragoni, then why is she looking for me? Miss Yin, snapping to attention, the mastermind of this all hurries to signal her supposed imposter. Sadly, Yin acted like she didn't hear it all and continued to stare at the stranger that's clinging to her leg. Queen, it's Sister Dragoni who had me come find you. The last purses her lip in a sad manner. Sister was taken away by the bad people because they wanted to catch me. Please, Queen, go save Sister Dragoni. They're all here 3. Yin's expression changed greatly after hearing that. Where did those people take her? They took her to the dragon clan's home. Where's the dragon's home? How do we get there? Dragoni is so timid. She won't be able to help herself if anything bad happens. I must find her as soon as possible. I don't know. The little girl shakes her head with tears quickly swelling out. I don't know how to get back to my home. Originally, Yin was growing ever increasingly more frustrated, but against the tear-filled appearance of this one, she just couldn't do it. Sighing, Son, go call Tsingy, I want to see her. If they want to find the home of the dragons that's living here in the Misty Fairy House, the quickest now would be to turn to another dragon. As it so happens, her azure dragon knows the way. Making a nod, Xiachen did as told and pulled out the communication in his possession. After a few words, Mother, Auntie Tsing is already on her way. What the kid forgot to mention, though, was that it's not just one person who's coming, it's also her grandfather and his subordinates. Giving a slight nod in affirmation. Son, take this little lady with you first. Okay. The little steambun's first instinct was to hold onto the other girl's hand before leaving, but the thought of the social norm of a male and female not touching, he held off on the idea. Don't cry, my mother is here now. Your sister Dragoni will be all right, so come with me while we wait. Wiping the tears from her cheek, the boy and girl quickly turned away for the doorway. Lung Ching Chong could no longer keep still at this stage. Slamming her hand on the chair handle, she snaps to the one responsible for the mess. Miss, what is the meaning of this? It's I who should be asking you, what's the meaning of having me impersonate myself? Impersonate myself? Freezing over in the face. What do you mean by those words? No response came, so the woman locked onto the disciple known as Zhang Feng. Didn't you say she's your distant cousin? Falling to his knees at being called out, the sneaky little thing trembled with horror as he scrambled his brain for an excuse. Explain yourself this instant. Where the hell did you find this woman? Those nails were quite literally scrapping against the brown hardwood, causing the room to screech with an irritable scratching noise. Sect. Leader, the youngster could barely make out his words from all the stuttering. Shit, I met her at the foot of the mountain. Idiot, punk. Sweeping everything that's on the table to the floor, Lung Ching Chong roars out. You idiotic thing. How could you not investigate the person first before bringing them inside our sect? And to have her pretend to be your distant cousin at that? After scolding Zhang Feng with her harsh words, the enraged woman now has her attention fully locked onto Di Song and Bai Yin, sneering sinisterly. But you really are foolish to come in person. Do you think my Sky Dragon sect is a place where you can freely walk in and out? Now that you're here, you can all forget about leaving. Swoosh. In an instant, countless people descends from the ceiling beams to surround the couple from all sides. Yin Yin, Di Song's gentle fingers caresses through those silken threads. Can I do it now? Faintly nodding. We found the person, so go ahead. Although this girl isn't Dragoni herself, but there's something good to the success. At least we now know where her whereabouts are. Bai Yan's eye began to narrow in as her menacing anger swelled from within. They're all here for, wait for me. Di Song's kiss gently falls onto his wife's lip, thus signaling his arm to loosen around that waist and the beginning of their end. For a moment there, under that oppressive aura and overwhelming galore of dominance, none dared to move. They just stared at him and unsure what to do. What you all doing? Hurry and subdue him. Lung Ching Chong snaps out at her people, that face showing utter dismay at the lack of compliance. To be clear, it's not that these people are unwilling to move. Rather, it's their legs aren't listening at all. Bang! Exploding with bloodthirst, those still struggling to lift their feet were instantly sent to the groan with blood drooling out of their mouth. Perhaps even in death, none of these poor souls would know why they've lost their lives, only that they did. Lung Ching Chong completely froze over this scene, moving her head mechanically upward to meet those murderous eyes. A gush of panic now grips that heart. She finally knew what fear was. In her haste, the woman attempts to retreat by crawling backwards. A&E elder from our Sky Dragon sect was recently taken in by the main house. If you make a move against me, then you won't be escaped death. The story went like this. When the previous head of this sect passed away, that mentioned elder wasn't around to step up to the post, hence the outcome of Lung Ching Chong landing with the position. As for that senior, he continued to remain in closed-door training right up till he broke through into the monarch rank, where he was immediately snatched up by the elder council of the Misty Fairy House. Of course, the senior himself didn't object to the idea and gladly left of his own accord. So one of your elders are now part of the Misty Fairy House. Arching her brow, Bai Yin steps forward with a question. Do call him. I would very much like to know which of those old farts are the one you've mentioned. Snickering with contempt at that proclamation, Lung Ching Chong clearly didn't believe what she's heard. Humph, this woman makes it sound like she's seen the Elder Council before. You think getting an audience with the Elder Council is that easy? That you can do so on a whim? Bang! But before her mocking words could be finished, a wave of energy attacks her from behind, causing that already shaken body to fly forward like a ragged doll of spraying blood. At the same time, Bai Yan's feet steps down to the woman's chest after she landed right in front of herself. You don't seem to know the situation yet. Cocking her chin high, she smiles menacingly down at her captive. A prisoner should act like one, and right now you're my prisoner. There's plenty of time before Tsing Yi comes, more than enough room to get even with this one regarding her failed attempt at kidnapping the young girl who knew of Dragoni's whereabout, and also for trying to impersonate me. Poof! Spitting out another mouthful of blood at the increasingly painful pressure at her chest. Lung Ching Chong was distressed to discover she's unable to resist at all with her inner strength, not even enough to raise a hand. In this instant, this woman now knows why her subordinates couldn't a thing to these two individuals. Their strength has been directly sealed away by a far more superior power. They're all here, five. Mildly smiling, Bai Yin increases the force in her foot. I gave you the chance to bring him here, but since you didn't grasp onto that opportunity. It was exactly at this moment a whistling roar from the outside rocked the room, thus causing all of the remaining disciples of this sect to come running out of their residences to find what's happening. To their shocking dismay, there's a ginormous dragon floating in the air. Dragon? How could there be a dragon? It can't be. Is it because of the dragon girl? This dragon is here for its kin? Hold on. How come there's a person in the dragon's paw? That man, it looks like Elder Wu Hao. Elder Wu Hao. Picking up that name, when the commotion from the outside drifted over, Lung Qing Chang's near-hopeless gaze immediately lit up, crying out like a mad animal. Elder Wu Hao, save me. Elder Wu Hao is here. I am saved. But before the woman's delightful surprise could last long enough, a powerful force had come striking down and ripped the roof apart. This allows her to see firsthand what's happening outside as well. There are currently two individuals standing atop of the dragon's back. One being a handsome-looking man of middle age, while the second was a young girl with an extremely beautiful pair of eyes, not in the seductive style, but rather the youthful and energetic type. Of course, Lung Qing Chang didn't pay any heed to the two, because her focus was stolen entirely by the elder currently being held by the dragon's claw. If only she had taken a moment to analyze the image, then the woman would have realized this was very wrong for someone coming to her rescue. Elder Wu Hao not only came back, but also with a dragon. This time I'm not only saved, I can also give these bastards a good lesson. Yet, when the senior himself saw what's happening down below, the image of Bai Yin stomping down at the supposed leader of his former sect, the person himself only showed a wry smile of disappointment. Lord Long Tian, can you let me down first? Humph. Snorting at the request, Long Tian, dragon, showed absolute disdain towards this human. If I wasn't in such a rush to meet Her Highness, I would never bring this trash along. Without any politeness or care, the dragon tosses the elder down from the air before eventually flying down himself. Lord-in-law, princess, please take your time and do be careful. When facing his two riders, Long Tian, dragon chief, immediately changed his tune. There's respect and there's flattery. Even his body was groveling against the floor to make it easier for the pair to disembark. It couldn't be helped. Di Xiaowan was the princess of the demon realm, while Yunfeng was Di Zong's father-in-law. To this newly assigned chief of the dragon clan from the demon realm, it's his honor and not a disgrace. As for Wu Hao, the dragon chief thought nothing of this human and would absolutely not allow him to ride on his back. Therefore, the next best option was to take the person along by picking him up with the claw. And since the wind was so strong during the trip, mainly due to their intense speed, Wu Hao's hair was a disheveled mess. Oomph! Puking another mouthful of blood, Lung Qing Chang grew all excited at the presence of her supposed savior. Elder Wu Hao, the strength of this man is somewhat unusual. You better call your dragon to work with you in order to kill him. As the sect leader of the Sky Dragon sect, Lung Qing Chang's become accustomed to giving orders, so her first act was to demand the old-timer to act. Outrageous! Wu Hao snaps at the woman. You stupid wench. If I had known you would drag the Sky Dragon sect into a state of no return, then I never would have yielded the position of sect leader to you.